5 days on the freeway, riding shotgun with you. Two hearts in the fast lane, we had big dreams in blue. Playing sweet child of mine, and I still feel that line. Where are you now? Where are you now? Hey, it's been too long ago, my love. Where did we go wrong? It's too late to turn around. Where are you now? Where are you now? Hey, it's been too long. You're just like my favorite song going round, round my head. Like my favorite song going round and round my head. You're just like my favorite song going round and round my head. Like my favorite song going round and round my head. Hey, it's been too long. Some days I can feel it, but the feeling ain't all blue. You got me believing one day you gotta come through. Lost in these city lights, 'cause I can't sleep tonight. Where are you now? Where are you now? Hey, it's been too long ago, my love. Where did we go wrong? It's too late to turn around. Where are you now? Where are you now? Hey, it's been too long. You're just like my favorite song going round, round my head. Like my favorite song going round and round my head. You're just like my favorite song going round and round my head. Like my favorite song going round and round my head. Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you now?
Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Excuse me, beg your pardon, girl. Do you have any idea what you starting, girl? Got me tingling, come to me mingling, stepping off, looking bootylicious and tingling. When you walk, I see it, baby, girl. When you talk, I believe it, baby, girl. I like that thick, petite, and pretty, little touches of ditty. Let it work the kitty like, hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. I must say you're the flyest thing in here. You're so hot, people need some rain in here. Time to make ex-gangsters bang in here. Girl, you could do anything you want in here. Down if you want to, down if you want to. You ain't even gotta drop down if you want to. 'Cause I've never seen you shake and standing. Either way you do it, then you look outstanding. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Hey ladies, drop it down. Just wanna see you touch the ground. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer. Don't be shy, girl, go bonanza. Shake your body like a belly dancer.
I had a dream that I was sinking slow motion. I get overwhelmed in all the
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another playoff game we have for you. We have the young hip hop gangsters versus a fireflies for a lovely best of three. And with me today is a Chrysler.
Yep. Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Good. Couple of games going on today.
Yeah. But we have hopefully a barn burner for ourselves today. Um. So, how are you feeling about the matchup we have ahead of us?
Um, I feel like in sort of this elo, no disrespect, obviously no disrespect, but I think in this elo it'll sort of come down to individual solo lanes instead of team play. As we do end up going to the draft here, I did see Firefly scrim yesterday against Quantify. Very close games. Yeah, very close games. So I actually have no information on the other side of Young Hip Hop Gangster Turtles. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, so first couple of bands coming in, Caitlin, Aurelian Soul, very good meta blind picks at the minute, as well as counters there. Are expecting anything else as we see the move coming through?
Elise should also be banned away. I mean, that guy's name is I am Elise OTP, as German does end up getting banned. So this final ban should be Elise ban. Let's see if we'll see it. Actually, it's a Nautilus ban, so they're allowing the Elise to go through. They probably have some sort of counterplay or counterpick option to the Elise available.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 100%. As we see Aphelios being banned there as well. Andreas having a very good game of it last week with head up with that Nautilus. As we see Zaya getting picked up.
And I mean, this should be just a no-brainer Rakan. You definitely don't want to give away Zyra Khan. So in the unsynced picks, if you give away Zyra Khan, there's a little answer. Actually, they're just gonna take the Thresher. They're gonna completely give up Rakan.
I think that's very much indicative of there being a very heavily one-trickable Thresh player on the young hip hop gangster side, as we see it paired up with a Samira, which is very good lane. There's safety and also the possibility of going in. So yes, a very nice bot lane pairing.
Yeah, and so with this Samira pick, obviously you're not afraid of the Rakan. You can just sort of go and end the Thresh. It does counter the Rakan engage with the Flay, as we see the Wukong get picked. Now, obviously, what I want to highlight with the bans is bot lane is the only thing that got banned out on the side of Young Hip Hop Gangster Turtles. They're really afraid of this bot lane. They're trying to put them on something like an uncomfortable pick. So we might see a lot of bot lane scrimmages.
Yeah, and now that we've got, we more than likely have the Turtles bot lane, but Fireflies only, obviously the Annie is a flex, so there's a possibility it goes mid, but we have our bot lanes in essence. How do these match up, maybe exactly?
I mean, obviously the Annie can go mid as we pointed out, but does as far as I know, the Annie is a guaranteed support pick. Well, you obviously see the Thresh. You want to get a counter pick in, since you have no other prio picks with the Wukong being taken away already. As we do see Ziggs being picked as the blind mid. They probably know it's not Annie mid, so Ziggs obviously can contest the mid lane push. I feel like the mid lane matchup is going to be dictated by the jungle proximity at this point. So we should see some highly contestable jungle picks, as we see the Sejuani being banned away. Blitzcrank also. Not sure why Blitzcrank was banned away. Maybe they don't actually know it's any support yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's my one assumption about this, but Sejuani being taken away is definitely something to look at because it's a very strong pick against the Wukong. Obviously, they're both in melee range, so the more CC that Sejuani has over the Wukong in this instance, with the amount of freezes, slows, and all that jazz, basically.
So young hip hop gangster turtles obviously reading the draft correctly. They know it's Samira Thresh ball lane. A lot of action. Both jungles going to be prioritizing that ball lane, trying to get that Samira, that Zaya ahead. A very strong 2v2 picks, and they read the draft correctly by banning away the Ornn. So this should be just like a Scion. As we see a wildcard Nunu pick, not something you see often in like in 5v5 competitive games, but very much
Mm.
so in solo queue.
Yeah, and maybe that's where we get the feel of the level of these players. Like you were saying, obviously, no disrespect at all, because they're here, they're in the what I believe is the upper bracket still. So, yeah, obviously, good players on these picks specifically. As
Yeah,
we'll see the Zoe lock in.
and it's any support no brainer with the Zoe lock in. Zoe Wukong very very strong if you do get that bubble off, but it's gonna be very hard because obviously if you don't land the bubble, very hard skill shot to land. Wukong has no setup, so this Zoe pick, I feel like completely ruins Young Hip Hop Gangsta Turtles draft because it's not gonna get any push into the Ziggs early. Once the Ziggs does end up getting that lost chapter or a cheater recall of the tier, it's gonna be very hard for the Zoe to play, as we do see the Malphite counter pick into the Jax.
Yep, something maybe a little surprising. There isn't really any Malphite games on Young Hip Hop Gangster Turtles. OP.GG that I have in front of me. There's a fair amount of Kled here, Mordekaiser, and a few other off champions as well. So, yeah, just the maybe off pick, the unassumed top pick for team.
Yeah, but as we head into draft, post draft, I'm probably taking Firefly's team comp over Young Hip Hop Gangsta Turtles because it's easier to execute. You have pushing mid. Pushing mid is something that a lot of players neglect. They sort of ego it. They're like, oh, I can if I play this champ correctly or this matchup correctly, then I shouldn't have any problem. But they just sort of neglect the pushing power of something like the Ziggs here. Nunu, obviously very strong farming jungler, very strong yanking jungler as well. But past 15 minutes, I don't think the Nunu is going to get anything done. And obviously, you have the weak side Malphite. So I'm taking Firefly's comp 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that's the comp we have on Blue's side. So, yeah, like you said, really good fighting and should easily get priority in both mid and more than likely bot lane as well. With the Annie having pressure over the Thresh in lane as well. So got a little bit of delay to get through. Is there any other maybe things we haven't talked about just yet that you may want to offer some insight onto?
Knowing that the Malphite is sort of like a pick that teams have in the back of their minds, blinded Jax is it's not favorable here. I would have blinded something more like a Darius actually, or even a Sion or Gragas. Gragas would have been a great option for the Wukong. You get to peel for the Xayah, but you might get almost too much AP. But with the grasp build, obviously, it's a lot better to play into Malphite. So maybe something like a Gragas would have been better. Again, one thing I want to highlight from the jungle mid matchup is you have Wukong, someone that is a strong skirmishing jungler, paired with the Zoe, who's more of a burst champion than a mage, than a control mage. And then we see on the other side Nunu and Ziggs. If the Wukong was paired with the Ziggs, it would have been much better. And actually, if Nunu was paired with the Zoe, it would have been much better because you do get that snowball, and the Ziggs obviously strong burst. You don't even need the gank setup because you have so many slows and so much burst. So kind of a weird draft. Maybe both teams expected that one was going to be taken away, so they're going to pick the other.
Yeah. So now that we talked through a little bit about the actual in-game stuff, there's a few maybe tournament things we could go through. Still, from what I know, in the upper bracket, right? So the massive win for both teams to be able to move forward on that and stay, defeatless.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing else to really talk about. It's just going to come down to, how they utilize their skills and fingers to play this game. But yeah, both. I mean, very. I mean, when I say I take the Fireflies comp 9 out of 10 times, I mean there's in game actually. Like if we take game by game, it's a 60-40 chance to 60-40 chance towards them to actually win the game. I think, but obviously in this elo, the McDonald's play is something that happens a lot. You see Barons being taken away, you see Drakes being taken away, and especially with the Nuno, who can outsmite anything actually with his Q alone. We might see a lot of that in this game, as the delay is almost ending.
Yeah, very much a objective control jungle there, with obviously the ability to easily gank. We see aftershock there, so obviously with the Ziggs and the Malphite, they don't need any extra damage. So both tank, they've got a decent front line here. The young hip hop gangster turtles, as we are getting into game.
I
Here
mean,
we go.
yeah, nothing should happen level 1. I mean, there might be a level 1 invade from the Thresh, from Fireflies, but other than that, nothing else should happen. Very weak level 1 from Fireflies. So one thing I want to highlight is Thresh did end up taking Glacial Augment. I mean, Guardian is just so strong into poke. You have that second wind, you have that font alive for the Samira sustain. Yeah, I mean, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to go Glacial. Obviously, Exhaust coming out on the side, actually both on the side of both ADCs. Exhaust very strong to Samira, and then if you can get the Exhaust onto Zai, her E doesn't do a whole lot of damage. Standard, the Dark Harvest pick from Zoe knows that she's gonna be more of a burst and a poke into Ziggs. That's fine, and then Grasp for both top laners. Grasp sort of, normal for Malphite, but Jax can opt into a lethal tempo, but probably Grasp is just so much better since he's not gonna be getting a whole lot of those auto attacks off of the Malphite E.
Yeah, and I mean it's been buffed recently, which has really helped it come to prominence in a lot of top laners. Sorry, with Malphite, Sion, like you said, Gragas. Generally, it's a lot easier to take it, as we see Aka being traded there with Shield. A few auto attacks taking the majority of the damage there. Will allow Ziggs to get a nice little push in the early level 1, as we see opposite jungle starts.
And already that's so bad. If I'm Nunu, I'm definitely doing 3 camps into top, as the Jax does end up beating the Malphite's head in here just a little bit. But yeah, if I'm Zoe, already I'm mentally diffed. I'm in lethal range. Nunu can come wherever he wants. He will end up being level 3 faster than the Zoe. So maybe this should be an early recall. Maybe something like a Dark Seal or even a Tear is fine.
Yeah, we've seen the demolition there, I believe, get taken first, knocking up there onto Zoe. Yeah, we just sort of checking wave states, checking jungle clears, looking to be full at the minute. Yeah, no real push. Obviously, a lot of damage and fighting in the top lane here. Not necessarily 100% great for the Malphite. There's a nice reason to even trade, as there's a possible kill mid. Just not in death range. Has to flash there from each shield.
Yeah, and I mean, really strange that the Ziggs actually had to flash there. That early bubble hit from Zoe that we saw, and the Ignite, as we see the Nunu rolling in here.
Yeah, just coming up behind a Konoka, who does hit the Sleepy Trouble bubble, but is there enough damage? The bomb slightly misses, has to flash away themselves, and it's just about an escape there. As there's a lot of trading here in the top lane as well. Drakali really applying pressure to Earthkit, as Elise OTP is getting ready for a dive. There's a reasonable minion wave. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good reads from Wukong. Probably not gonna execute this dive correctly. There's not. Jax unfortunately didn't stack the minion wave correctly, and Wukong should just end up doing a grab, as Nunu is splitting the map here with a flash play from Thresh.
Lovely flash there from Andres, but a nice hook onto this Annie. Limit testing really caught a Hast flash. Is ignited. Will it take down another flash there from the Spirited? Secure first blood. As Kronika is staying very low, and the satchel there takes them out, as we see a flash from Earthkip in the top lane. It's all coming up turtle gangsters there.
Yeah, I mean, action all 3 lanes here. What did she order? Flash fillet. So that flash fillet was obviously very well timed. Sort of, there was almost no delay in between the flash and the flash, actually giving the Annie absolutely no time to react. She does end up flashing, but Samira ends up flashing after. Exhaust hasn't been used on both sides of the ADCs, which is very weird, because as Xayah, you want to get that CC off and the exhaust. Maybe could have saved the Annie there.
We see more fighting.
Yeah, won't really know.
Just sort of chunking out at the minute now that Andres is back with a full utility support in limit here. Just again, a lot of priority just being taken as there's another snowball. It's a nice knock up and it's a good drowsy as we see the Wukong come in with E, but not really. There's a really heavy presence here for this Wukong as Meat Shield is now in the crosshairs of the players. Thresh has rotated up. It's a good satchel. Force the flash. Nice knock up on the ball. Lovely play. And that's another kill for Corello as we see some more fighting in his help lane.
Yeah, I mean, that was very, very well read from the Thresh, knowing actually Samir might end up dying here. Doesn't seem like it, but very well read from the Thresh. That hook actually, the hook animation actually started before Wukong flash, so we're very well played from the Thresh there, and that does end up being in a dragon for the side of Fireflies out here.
Charlie just taking a kip there quite low, but there's a big enough minion wave for him not to go back in, and Malphite's just got the shield again. Nice level up to 6.
He just hit 6. This might be a solo kill.
There's one knock up, and the auto attack just comes in. So again, coming up, young hip hop gangster turtles. We see another fight in the bot lane. As Samira jumps forward, both exhausted again. Samira can't quite finish off, but the rest of the fight, there's no mana as we see Corello coming in. Massive ball. It's a brilliant knockup, but is there enough? The hook lands. Nice play back towards Corello. The ignite ticking down. The ignite takes the kill, and unfortunately the Ziggs bomb doesn't quite get the Annie.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a tilter for the Samira. If she did end up taking that Ingenious Hunter, which probably most Samiras do, that's... You still get the takedown gold, but you don't get the kill gold, and that 300 gold could be, you know, towards your power spike. This lane is all about snowballing, and as we talked before, so much action going down here.
Yeah, absolutely. You haven't had a chance for the ADCs to back yet. We see the Noon Quiver there completed for Andres. We'll see what we get out of the Samira. The Serrated Dirk for 1, and, well, 3 swords there.
So, as Pearl gets used by the Zoe, his Ziggs base has no mana. I mean, this should end up being almost nothing.
Yeah, it's basically just the mage wet noodle fight, isn't it? And there's a nice bomb there to do a little bit more damage, but again, no real lethal threat at all.
Yeah, and I just want to bring up, Samira did end up buying that Serrated Dirk. Not really sure what this is going to build into. Maybe this is an early collector build, which does make a whole lot of sense. You definitely want the Immortal Shield Bow first, as it's such a big power spike, allowing you to survive the Annie dive even more, as Nunu ends up rolling into the top lane.
Yeah, Jack's just moving out of the way of the line of the ball there. Nice. Oh, there's a lot of damage down onto Elfkit, but a good stun there from Corello should keep both safe. There's a nice jump forward, and Jax gets the kill. Solo Bolo for him. So another nice instance of goal as we see the Wukong get on inside a good lantern away there, and nice play to stop Annie from pushing any further forward.
Yeah, I mean, good read from Wukong, splitting the map. If you can't you know, contest this Nunu, you have to force some action on the other side of the map. If I'm Malphite though, I am yelling at my Nunu. He definitely misplayed that. He ran away for no reason, knowing that Jax wasn't lethal. He did pop his ultimate, but it's only level 6 ultimate. They did nerf it in the early game, as Thresh does end up missing the hook on the no flash Annie. But yeah, if I'm Malphite, I am tilted by my own jungler.
Well, now that we seem to have a little bit of calm, we'll catch up on some of the CS that's going on. There's a nice lead there in the mid lane. That's 30. About even in most other lanes. There's maybe a 5 difference in the top lane with both of them having a solo kill as the hook just gets limit testing. Little bit of slap fighting as Meat Shield's thrown down, and there's a lot of damage on limit testing. It's a really good knock-up ult, but again, this Thresh is used for safety. It's allowed Insight there to get out nice and safe. As we see, yeah, just another lovely roam there from Corello after finishing topside. Just rolls the ball up as Meat Shield takes a lot of damage from a sleep trouble bubble. There's a lot of action going on, misses the flash and the auto attacks. are enough to take down. But now, Incisor, Maritan can't quite catch up with this Zoe. Now, with Jackson Zoe being the possible carries with a large wave, this Jackson should miss as there's no cannon and a plate as well for Earthkit.
I mean, very, very, like, that was such a huge misplay from the Ziggs. One, Zoe does have that W and her own flash, so she can double flash on you and with her own flash, and follow with your flash, actually, that she could steal. So very bad flash, you just accept death there. I'm not sure if he knew, what Zoe does, but he should. We saw the Lantern being a little bit late, not Thresh's fault or anything, but this is so bad. That flash on Ziggs is so valuable. If Wukong jumps on you once, you're dead. If you don't have W, you're dead. If he jumps on you in lethal, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking.
Yeah, so we got it was a very high vision line there for the Gangster Turtles, just behind Dragon Pit towards the push above the red buff, but now it's the solo control ward on the Drake that has just spawned. We haven't seen any priority for it.
Yeah, this Drake should end up going over to red side here, as Nunu is here trying to look to contest. Unfortunately, the wall line did back, resulting in sort of a tempo play for Axe's Eyes, is just gonna back as well. They're probably just gonna end up giving this dragon. Samira actually is going for that Immortal Shield Bow first. She could have had it by now if she hadn't bought this Serrated Dirk. And this dragon is a huge one, considering you're gonna be on soul point after the third one.
Yeah, as a nice stun comes in there from Drakali. Yeah, and again, we're sort of getting what will be, again, a Wet Noodle fight, as there's a lot of damage down onto Drakali there, but that's the most of the Malphite's damage. It's a really good hook. Nice bombs onto the Kong, as we're at 1200, 700. Nice smite there from Nunu to be able to secure the second dragon for the Gangster Turtles.
Yep, and I mean, they could have contested possibly if had the Zen not back. But they didn't see Samira in lane and they had vision. They should have started right away, as we see something going down bot.
Yep, Wukong gets the knockup onto the Thresh, so no safety for himself, and that's a nice stun and a good pullback, but there's a turnaround here for Incisor, who has ult and forces Andres' ult out as well. The ball coming down has been seen. Is there enough speed or enough CC? No, the ball hits the minions. The bot lane of Fireflies is forced to flash, but does get away.
Yeah, and overall decent trade for Young Gangster Turtles here. They did have to use Samir Defense Flash and Exhaust, but that's fine. You don't want to give that. Actually, that doesn't have shutdown. The Thresh is the one with shutdown. Trading Wukong Flash is actually very well, as Nunu rolls in on the Zoe.
Yeah, just a nice knock up there as the satchel comes in again. There's a nice bomb and their connection as Meat Shield does get the kill. Well, Malphite roaming down doesn't quite get enough time there for the assist.
So we're approaching the 15-minute mark, and no plates going down from for both bot sides here. A lot of things actually happening mid. So mainly what we want to be looking out for is the item spikes. Once Ziggs does end up having that Leandries, the poke is just gonna come online so much harder. And
there's another regank. That's a really nice satchel to bring Elise away from the tower as Carollo picks up kill. Another couple of tower shots, but not really anywhere near lethal.
Oh
no!
no!
Testing, unfortunately, can't quite hit the Thresh with the flash forward. There's a nice R comes out from Earthkip, and there's enough damage for lethal to kill Drakali.
Yeah, I mean, he just absolutely clapped him, literally and figuratively. Yeah, so we're a minute and 10 away from the 15-minute mark. There's a huge goal lead for the side of Young. I mean, at this point, I might just start calling them Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because they have Splinter as their coach. They knew what they wanted to do. I mean, if I am Fireflies here, then I'm putting all my eggs into one basket and sort of forcing the next dragon fight. If you're letting Soul Point go, that's a guaranteed Soul. They're just going to be so ahead by the time Soul is up. You definitely want to contest Soul Point.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough one for Fireflies here. As we see the sort of first items coming through for the hip-hop Gangster Turtles. And a nice Herald placement mid here. It's maybe a little bit far away. They do have enough for the wave clear. So we'll see if it can deal with it as well. Does do about half damage, but there's no real threat onto the tower either. As they're here now, setting up, taking out vision. As there's a big ball coming in, does catch the Wukong. There's a nice slow but good E away for the Wukong, which actually doesn't hit. There's a nice play to make sure to force the flash out, and Meat Shield gets another kill.
Yeah, and I mean, Dragon's up in a minute 30. Huge. Actually, the fight's not even over yet.
Limit testing is trying to get away. It's good. Stun onto inside, but there's another dash. And it's got the S mark onto limit testing. Limit testing is down. But they really want to go for this. They take one tower shot and is forced away. But there's just no real way with no wave. That's a good hook onto jumped. Zoe is taken down, but there's another shutdown given away from the Thresh. And another ult there from Incisor, who takes one of the final tower shots to stop Corella dying.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely a calculated risk. Taking this bot lane tower gives you so much power over this next dragon. If you don't have that bot tower, you have nowhere to play with. You have to play at the tier 2, and you won't be able to walk into the jungle at that point. So we're a minute past the 15-minute mark, and let's just check how both junglers are doing. Wukong's 0-4, down 30 farm. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm Nunu, my ego is through the roof. I out-jungled a Wukong with the Ziggs. I mean, very, very clear what has to change on the side of Fireflies.
Yeah, that's a nice stun there. The Lantern again saving Meat Shield with Kip taking a few tower shots. They're not quite going in, but there's a lot of damage going down there onto Drakali, forcing the back off, and more than likely a tower for this Malphite.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically full build, like 2.8k gold item, with a Malphite who has all of his abilities besides his ult scaling with armor. I mean, he's basically full build. You won't be killing this Malphite anytime soon.
And unfortunately, Zoe doesn't quite have the item yet to be able to help. There's another stunt onto the Thresh, but is able to use the blast cone to get away. They are, well, taking the dragon here for the turtles. No contest quite yet.
And as I said, they're in no position. Actually, the hook lands.
Thresh is now just, well, 1 versus 2. There's a lot of damage down. There's a nice hook onto the Annie here, who can't quite get the ult away, but now Incisor is pushing forward with a possible bomb, and it does take out the Zoe. Yeah, just a nice positional play there from the Young Turtles.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not much else to say. This game should end up being for the side of Young Pixel Gangster Turtles. There's just no win condition anymore for Fireflies. The Jax did end up losing, the mid lane did end up losing, and the bot lane did end up losing. So you have 3 losing lanes, so I guess that's where the Nunu excelled at over the Wukong. But yeah, so we can just sort of take this game apart and see what they can take into the next game. The Jax cannot be blinded with something like a Malphite up. Into the Sion is fine, but if you're gonna ban away the Ornn, and you want to pick blind the Jax here, I think you have to blind something else other than the Jax. Obviously, Jax a great scaling pick, and they did draft the Xayah Annie to sort of offset, they want to be playing for the bot lane into the Samira, as Malphite's gonna probably clap Jax. Actually, he has to use a word to jump away, yeah. So, yeah, I think this game was won and lost in draft.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. We do have some of the game left. We'll see what Fireflies want to do for the rest of it if they do want to play it out. But we now have items on majority of the Fireflies as the ball just goes wide. It's a nice stun into trouble. Well, we can't pick up the lantern. That's a decent amount of damage, but not enough to be anywhere near lethal for anyone else. As Elise Kong has jumped over the wall. One ult does get forward, but is hooked. Stop the second knockup, and Samira is ready to spin.
Yeah, and I mean, the Ziggs did have to defensively flash as the second Sleepy Troll lands. Nothing gonna happen though. So we saw Ziggs have to use defensive flash there. If the Wukong had not flashed defensively himself as well, that probably could have been a kill onto the Ziggs, which could have been sort of a lifeline. I mean, he does have that 300 gold shutdown, but that's what I was talking about. Yep.
Doesn't quite reach there on the paddle star, so no damage there onto the Malphite, who would have taken a fair amount with no magic resist. Obviously, a lot of health, so maybe it wouldn't have looked like much on the bar. Generally, would have been a nice amount.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, generally as casters, this is like these type of games are so hard to like cast, but there's like this game was just ended up being so one-sided that everything that could have went wrong for Fireflies did go wrong.
Yeah, as we see, another Herald down. Now they've been able to get one bounty that's, well, a little bit of enough gold. There is a hook landed, but it is onto the Wukong clone, so no possible play there for my return to continue. As we see Nunu just rolling up a ball and letting it go for a run. Possible Baron setup play here, as we see. Well, there's definitely enough damage with the Collector and Shield, Seraphs, and the Leandries as a really pushed up Malphite with a TP if needed, but right now it doesn't look like it. It's down low enough and smited away. A nice lovely hook onto Andres and lovely play there to pull Wukong into the team fight. Possible getaway? No, there's just too much damage there from Incisor to force the kill there onto Wukong.
Yep, Surge does pick up the double kill with the auto attack and the hook, so yeah, now he has a shutdown as big as the Ziggs. Yeah, but this should just be a complete stomp from Gangster Turtles.
Yeah, complete madness there as we see
Yep.
two AP threats trying to damage this Malphite. There's a nice trouble ball, gets one to meet shield, but there's too many people in the way. There's no way a paddle star's getting through to him, and that's one inhib down. As we see, maybe a last-ditch effort as Malphite ults away the unstoppable rock. A nice stun onto Corello, but just gets away. It's a nice hook onto limit testing. A nice satchel does put the burn on, but there's enough of a shield for limit test to stay alive. There's another hook, but another bomb does take down the majority of both Kakali and a Canonica. His health and a nice knock up there onto both Clone and Wukong as they're really threatening the base here.
And 14k Goldie, nothing to joke about as they won't try and end, which is completely fine. You want to take the 100% play, even if you're this ahead. As they will pick up the soul, it does end up being Mount. Very good for the Malphite and the Nunu. Makes it even harder to kill the Samira even with the Immortal Shield Bow mythic bonus.
Yep, there's a little bit of a push in here from Annie and Zoe, Zoe taking a lot of damage there from the bomb that Ziggs can just keep throwing out, zoning away any type of push. As the hook does just about miss onto the
Yeah, I mean, perfect game from Nunu and Samira so far. No mistakes really from both of them in the early game, which ends up giving them the spikes that they needed and the what they were playing for in the draft. Yeah, man, just complete stomp. I don't know what else.
Yeah, we just have to wait and see what happens. Really, I mean, it doesn't seem like Fireflies want to FF, so we will be playing this out. They are going to try their best to continue to win. There is a large deficit, like I said already, but at least they still have the fight.
Yep, and I think if Taipei back in the day in season 2 or 3, if they're able to FF and just completely save their mental and then win the championship, I think they need to take a book out of the Taipei's book and just FF this one and insta go next game, as Wukong gets hit by that's his clone, my bad. But yeah.
Yeah, no, just a really good push now. They have run out of barons, so it's a little bit tougher to push now, but it shouldn't be too hard. There may be a last-ditch effort as Wukong's clone again hooked. No one in real threat. The Chiralias is putting a nice hook onto Drakali, who pops the shield spinning sword, and there's a triple knock up there from Kit, who continues to fight for Ninja Turtles, as you previously said, and well, Insides just cleans up the last two, and this should be GG.
Yeah, and someone in chat said, "Why does Thresh have 3 pods? Because he's ballin'." Yeah, and that's GG. Game 1 goes to Young Gangster Hip Hop Turtles. So, I mean, they played for what they drafted for. They executed their comp really well. Balling skirmishes did. Every single balling skirmish did end up going for the submission side. So maybe Fireflies want to change up their balling comp in one way or another. But yeah, definitely draft diff here as we are preparing for game 2 here. I mean, what do you think? How do you think the draft can be changed?
From previous Firefly games, they had really good games on initiating supports. It wasn't limit testing, so maybe that's where the changes come in. If limit can play things like the Nautilus, they did ban it themselves, so maybe just the change there. It is a prominent pick for the young hip hop gangster turtles, so we'll have to see what side is selected for second game as well. But yeah, just generally a jungle diff, you might say.
Yeah, someone in the chat going, I have some draft advice. I mean, go ahead, bro. If they become their coach, by all means necessary, make the game more exciting for us. We need it as casters.
So a little then a conversation we can have, and it might be difficult to choose because generally across the board it was a very good game. But do you have a player of the game?
Player of the game should definitely go over to the Nunu. I mean, he was just splitting the map really effectively. He knew he couldn't find to the Wukong head on. He knew he knew they lost the 2v2 most likely because the Wukong is such a strong skirmishing champion and Ziggs isn't even online yet. But yeah, Wukong was bot side, Nunu was ganking top side repeatedly. And farming as well. It's huge CS deficit between the two junglers. Wukong went top side trying to force something. He goes bot side and gets to Samira a lead. So play of the game definitely goes to Nunu here. Hard champion to play into the Wukong.
Brilliant. Well, for now, I think it's not really much else to talk about. So until we have the next game ready, thank you everyone for watching. We can take a break, shit. Until everyone else is ready, I should.
Late nights in the middle of June, he waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle.
And we are back with the game 2 lobby. But yeah, last game was a complete stomp towards Young Gangster Hip Hop Turtles. But as the same side selection, so since Fireflies did lose, they opt out into the blue side once again for that valuable first pick. So in game 2, mainly what we're looking for is maybe you wanna put your bot side on as a weak side and play for the top side, because we did see the Zaya get picked with the Jacks. Not something you want to see. That's pretty a suboptimal draft, because while Wukong can play for both lanes, generally he prefers playing towards one only. Yeah, so maybe something like a Zeri pick could work. Not sure if Andreas does end up playing Zeri, but we're gonna have to see. And the jungle matchup needs to be easier for Fireflies. Obviously, Wukong, strong skirmisher, Nunu not so much, wants to play around his lanes and the objectives, but being sort of a at least Jarvan Ota 2-trick will hinder your performance on any other champion. So we're gonna have to see how that goes.
Yeah, and again, it was slightly odd to see that the young hip hop gangster turtles didn't ban out the Elise, and then Fireflies didn't opt for their one-trick pony, stated by the name of their jungler. So maybe also a possibility there to pick that also. So yeah, like we said, a little bit of a change up of comp, maybe.
Yep, and as we do end up heading into the second game draft. Okay, so here we go. So if I'm Young Gangster Hip Hop Turtles, I'm expecting to, completely draft if again. Nothing should change. Samira Thresh, Work Graveton, we're gonna have to see if we see it again. Yeah, but it's just completely reading draft. The draft is completely being dictated right now by Fireflies. It's just gonna be how we're just gonna have to see how well Young Gangster Hip Hop Turtles can read the draft and force them off and stop the comp that they want to play.
Yeah, so that's Nunu coming forward there for priority of bans. I mean, it was unbelievable performance there from Corello on the Nunu. And again, also Samira disappearing. There is a little bit more focus on the bot lane as well, with Aphelios and Caitlyn going down too. As yeah, we see the assault there for the final set of the first bans.
Yeah, man, I mean, pretty standard. Samira, Caitlyn, Nunu. So we saw Caitlyn being banned out, as they do end up going for the Zaya again. The Zaya pick didn't really end up doing a whole lot with the Annie. We're gonna have to see if there has to be a change in the jungle, at least, as we see the Thresh being picked again.
Yeah, and again, not banning out the Elise. This is something they've obviously prepped for. They want the Jarvan gone. They can't really deal with that, so we'll have to see if the Elise OTP picks up on that pony, as Draven, who is in essence a lot more problematic for this bot lane, with a Thresh again who played unbelievably well around the safety of his other partners in crime.
Okay, so now the Elise is up again. We're gonna have to see if they pick it again. Someone in chat did go Rakan Elise. I mean, not a bad option here. Actually, looking great with the Zaya. You're gonna have to force a strong top laner here. Zaya is not gonna win into Draven at all, even with the help of Sejuani. But yeah, this should be. Currently, there is no win condition for young hip hop gangster turtles. Or wait, Fireflies. My bad.
Yeah, it's obviously been very problematic with Aphelios going down here in the draft and being forced onto the Zaya, as there is the hover of Rakan, but we have a Blitzcrank. Now, this is going to be a very difficult bot lane for Fireflies, as obviously the safety of Thresh has that priority over Blitzcrank. we'll have to see if the hooks are going to be hitting. This is where we need uh, things to be happening, because if a Blitzcrank is not going forward, getting hooked, taking out priority targets away from team or making them miss position, then it's something they'll have to look out for.
Yep, and I mean, okay, so one thing I want to highlight here that's just like, surprise, the only highlight here of the draft is they knew the Blitzcrank was banned away and on the 4 or 5 of young hip hop gangster turtles. With they probably were expecting to ban the Blitz, but with the Blitz picked, Draven will have to miss an axe. He's gonna have to have another axe off cooldown if he wants to double stack the axes fighting the Zaya, but Blitzcrank should hit all of his hooks. Good read. Good pick actually from Fireflies.
Yeah, and I agree. It definitely forces Draven in certain positions. We're sticking with the Amumu here, and now that we different positions, Elise has now been banned out. Obviously, slightly worrying that the Sejuani has been picked already. So the thought there is that it is going top.
Yep, and I mean they probably took a look at the Dracoli's match history, knew he was playing a lot of Sejuani top, at least OTP not so much. We're gonna have to see if this does end up being Sejuani top, as Malphite is gonna get banned away here. Probably Jax again. Honestly, I prefer the Malphite ban to the Ornn more. Ornn doesn't really. Ornn's only damage option is trying to hit that brutal auto. So if Jax can counter strike it correctly, Jax should have an easier lane this time. But maybe we're gonna have to see a different top lane as Zach does end up being picked.
Yeah, really, really strong jungle at the minute. It can be forced into top lane, but yeah, a high priority there probably on jungle. It does give Fireflies mid lane a little bit of an easier time building Merc treads for the damage side. So we're assuming that a tank or AD is going to pick. I mean, the Draven should be enough for the young hip hop gangster turtles, as we see Talia now picked for Fireflies, more than likely in the mid lane.
Yes, so it does end up being Sejuani top. Good release ban for the
Wow.
good release ban for the side of young hip hop gangster turtles. But I'm not sure why you wouldn't pick Elise early here. Elise is a great jungler. She doesn't really have any bad matchups outside of maybe some farming ones that are able to outfarm and outscale her, as we're gonna see the Mundo being picked.
And again, a really good pick in general. Not necessarily the best in Sejuani, as the cleavers that would normally slow don't always. So it's not necessarily a counter pick, but generally both top laners. We're getting Wukong top, actually, I believe. So we're no flexing or mixing about. We have Sejuani in the jungle and Wukong in the top lane.
I mean, this is a completely fine switch. If you're okay, so if post draft, I am probably taking left side here. With the Wukong, you're able to kill the Draven really easily. He has no mobility besides the Thresh. If the Thresh does end up lanterning and the Draven does end up getting out, if he is in lethal range, Talia E will execute him completely and stun him, so he won't be able to join the team fight for around 2 seconds. 2 seconds is a valuable time for the Zaya and the Talia to pop off with the cooldowns with the auto attacks. But yeah, I am probably taking left side draft here over right side, so Firefly should have an easier time playing into this Mundo and Draven with the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how beefy both Mundo and Zac get, it could be a problem. I mean, Talia will have enough damage, as well as possibly the Wukong, depending again on how fed things are going to be getting. And as we saw in the last game, a heavy fight presence from the young hip hop gangster turtles, getting ahead really quickly, generally across the map.
Yeah, and nothing else really to point out here. I mean, again, this game is gonna come down to who plays lane better. I think with Talia pick, you're able to contest the Ziggs push harder. Definitely good pickup here. Definitely way better than Zoe. Not being able to land those, I mean, she did land those sleep trouble bubbles a lot, but not being able to follow up being 14k gold down is really a hindrance here. So with this Talia pick, they're able to they probably wanted this Wukong to go jungle, but they switched it last second, and that's completely fine. But it does hinder Talia's performance just a tiny amount. Not having mobility or not having a counter gank or a strong counter ganker into the Zac, into the Ziggs. Zac obviously having strong burst with the Ziggs might be problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. Now maybe we'll get an overall of how both teams want to fight. Generally, both quite front to back. I mean, Talia will be slinging as many skill shots as possible. Wukong going in, maybe trying to get to the back line, but generally for the Ziggs and Draven trying to stay as far away from as much of Fireflies as they possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, as for the team fighting aspect, Talia, W, and E are, high cooldown, so Draven will have time to launch his axes into the Wukong. So the fight should probably play out. Zac or Wukong have to engage first, or maybe the Sejuani drifts and launches the Glacial Prison onto the Draven, and he won't get. He probably has to get CC chained. If he doesn't get CC chained, I think Draven will just take the Lantern out, and the fight will be lost. If you have you have a lot of utility, such high value utility on the left side here. If you miss Glacial Prison, it is so valuable in team fights. But yeah, they have no other CC lockdown. I mean, besides kill shots, Cyclone not really, CC, sort of a buffer for the team fight to extend by like half a second with each cast.
Yep.
But yeah, if this game does end up going past 30 minutes, I mean, last game didn't, but if this game does end up going past 30 minutes, Talia should be a big problem. She scales a lot harder than Ziggs, especially in the team fights here.
Yeah, something to look forward to. Now I've got a little bit of a chance, maybe before the action happens. Who's winning the skin game?
I mean, definitely we see a banner actually from Draven. So you always gotta appreciate the banners.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lancer Stratus Wukong, not an easy skin to get as well. Arcana Ziggs, always, the one-trick option for Ziggs players. Corporate Mundo, obviously a great meme skin. Yeah. I mean, nothing should happen level 1 here, as we do see a 5-point. Actually, top lane. This might be a top lane invade or a top lane bait of some form, as all 5 members are here.
Yeah. Obviously waiting for something to happen, but like you said, 5 men the top side of young hip hop gangster turtles jungle.
As we wait, they probably did expect an invade considering it is a Blitzcrank top, but I mean, Blitzcrank pick. They expected an invade top. I mean, Great Ball 1 from Fireflies here. Obviously, you have the Draven, but, if the Draven does end up being zoned at level 1, he won't be able to do much. Okay, so rune check for Conqueror on the Wukong, Grasp on the Mundo standard. One thing I want to point out, Glacial is way better this game. If you do get a hook onto Xayah and the Blitzcrank gets a hook onto Draven.
Yeah.
Now Glacial, in my mind, on the Blitz, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you hit the hook, you're hooking him out of the Glacial. I mean, yeah, the Glacial does end up being fired from where you hook to your position, but it doesn't reach quite far considering Blitzcrank hook is just a little bit longer than the Glacial raise. So misplay in the champion select here as the Talia crit does end up being hit.
So yeah, generally just a nice bit of trading here in the mid lane. Both junglers starting top, so we know about the priority that they're aiming for. Obviously, Sejuani wants to stop the Draven from getting ahead, maybe trying to get a kill here for the Xayah. And Zac wants to get to this bot lane to be able to get this Draven ahead. It's the priority in the lane selection that they have. Obviously, Ziggs being able to push in lanes as well gives the option to roam. Definitely happened a lot, and there's a really nice trade there for Ziggs onto Onoka.
One thing I want to point out though is Wukong did end up going for a long sword 3-pot. I mean, obviously this guy must watch a lot of Baus, as if you don't know, Baus basically said that if you buy Doran's items, you are trolling the game. You need to instantly, because you are going to end up selling the Doran's items anyway. That's a loss of around 300 gold in item value. So going longsword 3-pot is, I mean, definitely situational. In this lane though, I'd say it's completely fine. You're going to be farming a lot. Doran's items aren't going to be they're not going to get a huge amount of value. If you get D-Blade here, you're not going to be trading with the Mundo either way. It's going to be really insignificant. So yeah, Baus enjoyers definitely take a W on this one.
Yeah, it's a nice large stack. We know there's no jungle presence, so unfortunately, well, maybe not the chance you want on Mundo for a dive here, as we see Sejuani move the bot lane first.
Yeah, I mean, looking for that gank, obviously in this meta right now, even with the jungle changed, if you get Valanth first, you basically win for the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, Blitzcrank coming up, just misses the hook, but the scuttle is taken here by the Sejuani. Will be spotted on a ward exiting towards the mid lane, so more than likely a double scuttle for the Sejuani, as Fireflies take the first dub. Miniature it may be, but it's there.
I mean, gold is gold, right? You want to be basically taking everything, though. That gold might end up turning into a longsword that the 10 AD might get a kill with. So, you know, definitely appreciate it, but nothing to be worried about.
Yeah, very slow again. Was a really nice hook onto the thresh there, so that's their priority target for now, as Draven is free hitting onto Andres. There's a nice hook there onto Blitzcrank, and both exhausts come out. That's a really good stun knock up, ignite as well. Nice flash pull. Does get first blood onto Andres, and there's possibly a double kill here. But Blitzcrank gets the hook, doesn't quite get the knock up because the flash is forced, and that's all sums gone apart from Blitzcrank's hook.
Definitely such a big positive elixir trade for Fireflies here. Definitely what you want to be seeing here. The Xayah pick definitely coming through here. The Draven did end up flashing into... He did get hit by 2 feathers and flashed into the final third one that was just at his third side. So big misplay from Draven. And, you know, Exhaust definitely helping that as well as... Oh my god, Mundo gets absolutely flashed on here. But yeah, this is what we were talking about here. If the Draven doesn't get ahead, the game becomes so much harder to play for young gangster hip-hop turtles. The Xayah definitely gonna be stronger than last game here. Maybe she'll get some action here instead of being hooked off cooldown without her ult here.
Yep. And then, yeah, just a really good follow-up play from the Sejuani, knowing that the bot lane was a nice, easy single kill there onto the Draven, makes the play towards top side. And they take out the Mundo as well, who is slowly stacking health, which eventually will be a problem. But in this early game, the Wukong is definitely ahead.
Yep, and we're gonna see, you know, if I'm being completely honest, Mundo should build a Sunfire here as he's going at right now. Heartsteel is not a really great first item. All it offers you is health and just a tiny, like, a significant amount of burst early, but that's only every 30 seconds. And it doesn't really come online until you have 2.5 items. So Sunfire, great option here.
Yep. So, yeah, just generally a lull state. There is a chance here for young hip-hop gangster turtles to start the Drake as they have. They called it out slightly, but it is spotted out by the Sejuani. Nice little bit of damage, about half now, just under 2k, getting down to 15. Dash in and secured by the Zac, who jumps on the Sejuani. Can't quite catch the knock-up, but there is a nice play there to keep the Sejuani in the pit, and there's a free kill also.
Sort of a Hail Mary there. I mean, completely unnecessary. Obviously, it's worth it if you end up stealing the dragon, but we saw the dragon just on 60 HP getting stolen by a Zac W. As the Dragon gets hooked here.
Yeah, nice hook and really good stun, but Zac is ready to come in, does get the knock up onto the Blitzcrank. Is there enough damage? The Ignite comes down the Incisor, and the auto attacks with a flash does secure the kill. Another nice knock up there onto Thresh, just really doing a bit of poke damage. Nice hook, play, the pull back, the E-Feathers, a nice jump in for the Zac. There's a nice hook onto Link Testing, who's very low. There's a good knock up, takes the majority of the health, and does take Zac's passive away. Have to see if this correlates to a kill. Yes, the blobs line up slightly, but Thresh does secure the final one. The Ziggs bomb catching out the Blitzcrank. That is an even play now. As Sejuani is absolutely destroying this Mundo's laning phase, has also taken down for a second time. Wukong 2-0-0 now.
Yeah, but I mean, good lineup from the Feathers on the side of Andreas. You know, if you want to get those first two blobs down, and then as the last two are getting closer and closer, your Feathers definitely have a huge impact there. If he doesn't have the Feathers passive, he probably doesn't end up killing, and that probably does end up being into a solo kill for Zach. All in all, good. The Zaya death isn't really huge. I mean, she basically, in my opinion, she doesn't have a death right now. Giving the kill to Thresh is completely fine. You reset your goal, so you won't have a shutdown next time Draven wants to kill you. And obviously, Draven is a big goal generating machine with those axes.
Yeah, has died a couple of times now, so those stacks maybe not necessarily as high as he would have liked. And again, sort of coming to this lost state, and that bottom side jungle river is littered with red wards that are just waiting to be cleared out, ready for the next Drake in 2.5 minutes or so.
Yep, and you know, obviously Blitzcrank playing well here. You saw how far back the Draven had to play. He couldn't even stack his axes correctly, or to get range to extend the axe CD as Blitzcrank walks up. 4 people here actually on the side of the turtles.
Yeah, really, really heavily playing for this bot lane now. The wave could again meet in the middle as Sejuani is walking forward. Zach's ready to pull slingshot, does get the knock up. Not really much damage coming down from either side, and he'll just walk away.
Yep, and I mean, the game is sort of a stalemate right now. Obviously, the goal lead on 1.4k gold lead around there for the side of Fireflies. Definitely nothing to worry about though, as you know, the Draven will keep up with the Zaya until she gets her first item here. Having those axes is really handy. But yeah, one more KP over to the jungler. Nothing to be worried about right now.
Yep, and generally a lot of common builds coming out for a lot of these champions. Wukong seems to be going for Sunderer, like you said, Sunfire for more than likely both Mundo and Zac. There is a possibility of a dive here. The hook does miss, but Zac's ready to slingshot in. Misses all, and Zaya pops the ult and gets 2 stuns. A lot of tower shots coming through, and a nice glacial prison there from the Sejuani. The bomb goes down, just about flashes away, but Thresh has to walk forward to get the auto attack. As we see Talia coming in to clean up.
Yeah, and the rocks will be chucked at the Ziggs to execute him as he's struggling to get this Blitzcrank kill. Such good plays being made on the side of Fireflies. I can't highlight it enough. Sejuani obviously going top to try and accelerate this Wukong to get his Divine Sunder. Once he has that Sunder, he's just going to be hitting the Mundo's head over and over with his bow staff. Big Herald actually going to come in for the Talia here.
Yeah, it's a really nice play here, because eventually you're going to want your bot lane going mid as Zac jumps in, does hit the Sejuani. There's a nice rock formation, just pushing Zac away there. But at least it's possibly staying just a little bit too long, doesn't get quite caught out there as Dragon is spawning. This should go over to young hiphop gangster turtles as Sejuani is extremely low. I
mean, actually, I think Fireflies has a decent chance at contesting this. The Gale is online for the Zaya. Draven doesn't even have a first item yet. All he has is Sheen trying to build that Eclipse. Or actually, he's trying to build that Essence Weaver first and then go into the Eclipse.
There is
looks
4
like
members as the Dragon is pulled out, so have to see what the attempt here is from Fireflies.
I mean, this dragon should be absolutely contested here. You have such a huge gold advantage. Obviously, the players can't see the gold advantage at the top that we see, but you got to realize that the Zaya is 3-2, whilst the Draven is only 1-3. You have first item available faster than the Ziggs for the Talia. There's no reason that Fireflies should have given up that second dragon.
Yeah, as we see now, Sejuani backing here should get the item she was looking for with that Herald. Yep, Radiant Virtue coming through there. Really nice item for the Sejuani. Just allows her to be tanky enough as the Sundra is coming in and a lot of damage down onto Earthkit. Like you were saying, he's going to be bullying this lane now.
And as Mundo, your lane is just lost. You need to wait for the Wukong to push if you can, play the wave correctly now or stop the dives potentially. As we see Talia moving up here, she is going to get spotted on 2 wards here. But
yeah, Mundo. Yeah, Mundo already back kind of safe enough. I mean, he is now pushing up, but does know if Talia's coming up. There's a reasonable amount of damage here on each side. Not quite hitting the briefcases as Wukong loves to sit in the minions does. They're a nice one in there.
13 minutes played as we are approaching the 15-minute mark, and the jungle matchup doesn't seem one-sided anymore. Obviously, as we see the Zac jumping here.
Yeah, just onto the clone. Wukong is going back in, and Sejuani has come in for the counter gank. There is a knock up here on the Thresh as he has to flash away. It's a nice pullback from the Talia, and the bomb comes out, just about misses. Nothing really happening apart from Mundo popping his ult there just to stay alive, more than likely.
Yep, and I mean, the Ziggs did come down here, but he was second to move. The Talia obviously being there first with the ult. I think she ulted down there anyway, but the timer is a bit screwed up right now. And the HUD. Actually, she didn't, because you can't Weaver's Wall while she's being attacked, so that's completely my fault. I'm kind of inting it here. Yeah. So, obviously, we talked about this before, Talia is able to contest the Ziggs all 1 push, and obviously having that first item before the Ziggs really helps. The Sword Shoes, not really sure why he bought it. Obviously, great buy, but not that great of a buy, as we see Thresh tucking into onto the Sejuani.
Yep, it's good. Zac pull there onto the Herald as well. Sejuani staying alive for very long. Also getting the Herald for her team. Talia picking that up as the rest of the fight. A nice Q there from Wukong. A nice knock up as well. And the passive has been proc. This should be a nice easy cleanup kill for the Wukong. Collects a triple kill and a really nice money bag for a lovely back of a lot of gold.
Yep, and I mean, this game, while it's not as much as one-sided as last one was, this game is definitely more exciting to watch, as Fireflies are definitely giving it their all right now. They changed some things in the draft. Obviously, this that I thought the Zypit would have the same impact as last time, but with the Blitzcrank coming out, it makes Volley a whole different story.
We'll see what this Mundo can do. Does force out the flash from Akanoka as a nice knock up there. Blitzcrank does hook him under the tower. There's a Mega Bomb, and Earthkit can collect that execute kill.
Not really what you want to be seeing if you're members of Fireflies here. That was just a really optimistic play with, no. Obviously, the young gangster hiphop turtles realizing that they were overextended even with the gold lead. That should be free kills, as we see a teamfight breaking out here in the mid lane.
Yeah, the Herodias is popped, so there's a lot of escape possibilities here for the turtles. As we just kind of go back to trading, Meat Shield is pushing on towards his Zaya, and Earthkit pushing into the jungle, but Andres Claymore does get away again, and there's a traded tower as we see the Sejuani dash in with Q.
So if I'm Fireflies here, what I'm looking at is definitely this next dragon, as Wukong is going to be moving down here. If we, I know that Zac has no flash, so he won't be able to go for that smite steal, but he is able to fly over the dragon pit. Ziggs has flash, Draven has both summoners. There should be a fight for the dragon, as TP's coming out here.
Yeah, Blitzcrank kind of zoning as well as Thalia. Thalia ready maybe possibly to use the wall to get anyone out of the way. Mundo isn't knocked over, and there's now Solo on this side of the wall. It's an easy collect here, and a nice hook onto the Draven, who is taken extremely low and taken out the Mega Bomb. Doesn't really do much damage, and Zaya is just free hitting this front line. There's an exhaust onto Thresh for Sejuani to be able to collect the kill, and Andres is just about taken out by this axe, but for that, Corello will lose his life. And Drakali is taking out Michio here in the bot lane.
Blitzcrank MVP, like, he's hitting these hooks. I mean, we saw the Draven get hooked there for absolutely no reason. Saw the axe flying out, knows he wants to collect it in order to keep this teamfight dream alive. Unfortunately, they split like Moses splits the Red Sea, and he hits the hook there. No reason he should be hitting that hook, but he is able to find that angle, and props to him.
Yeah, and just about staying alive, but minions do take out that tower, and Drakali is really stacking up gold now. Another 2 kills for himself in that team fight as well. And like you said, Blitzcrank really playing MVP as a slingshot. Zach does not take it. We are now at a 2-1 Drake advantage, which is slowly being lost here by the Turtles.
Yep, and I mean, you can't even play for the soul here if you're the Turtles here. Even if you try and get the soul, you're just gonna get bullied out of the jungle and out of the river and out of the pit entirely by this Blitzcrank. Draven is the only damage dealer here besides the Ziggs, but Ziggs isn't even online yet as the slingshot coming out here.
Yeah, ready to maybe pull towards minions. So Talia does pop Ghost to get away as Sejuani is ready to regank. There's a misclick maybe on a stopwatch here for the Talia, so there's no possibility of the kill happening. But this Elise Sejuani is really going for it now, as we see preparations in. Blitzcrank using Blast Cone to flash hook this Ziggs. Nice ult to take majority of the damage and does kill. What can they do now for this Zax? So, Frozen under tower is forced a flash here from to Thresh as a nice Arctic Prism comes down for a really easy kill for the Celia there.
This guy just can't miss. He's hitting every single hook he can in existence. I don't think I've seen him miss a hook out of lane yet. I mean, it's just crazy. So he knew that the Ziggs flashed last team fight, knows that he doesn't have it, knows that he can go for this flash play onto the Ziggs. If he goes for this flash play, then they're able to take as many turrets as they want, obviously with the Ziggs not being able to wave clear as much for the Turtles here. Good play from Blitzcrank.
Yeah, unfortunately, top wave's not really in a position. They still haven't taken the first turret down, actually, so they're really looking for maybe an end play after a Drake or an Elder. As I say that, Akanoka is taking that tier 1.
Gold lead almost nearing a 10k here. Actually, almost 10k. 700 gold away here from being 10k. As
Nice
you know, we
stumble.
see that the flash actually has to be used here. I'm not sure why.
I believe if in center there, that's highly threat range. So I think a good flash there from Talia and Leandro's probably maybe take him down.
I mean, it's definitely way better to be safer than sorry. So you know, it's fine. We obviously have the 550 gold shutdown on you, realizing that if he gives that shutdown to Ziggs, he is able to get that Seraphs and possibly be a menace to society here.
Yeah, just sort of taking the mid pressure now to set up for the Baron. Mundo is not walking, he is phasing slowly towards maybe a problem with his sprite. Blitzcrank now looking, not necessarily quite seeing where the Zack's gone after the ward was placed. And on his own as well, so had the hook maybe hit, not really a possibility for a kill.
I mean, this Wukong is just terrorizing balling right now. He's always here in between team fights. Knows that if he can get this balling pushing with the prio for the next dragon, he's able to take that reset and go back ball lane as he is. Often choose go up with the TP up to split the map.
So
for the dragon.
Yeah, 30 seconds till that spawns. A lot of the young hip hop turtles are topside as the Talia wall is used. I think very safety orientated there. The use is for Carly just putting a little bit of damage down onto the Mundo, who they both have TP for this straight fight.
Yeah, I mean, both tanks don't even have the second item yet. Obviously, Mundo has enough to buy the second item. It's just invested in that Bramble. Um, but yeah, I mean, nothing else to really talk about. So the way that uh, Turtles come back into this game is they have to avoid the Wukong and the Blitzcrank. They have to try and take as much gold as possible and give as much gold to Ziggs as they're going to have to find the top lane.
Yeah, a nice knock up here onto the Wukong, who offers one back, does take down the Mundo. As Talia now firing those machine gun like rocks at the Zac. He does full Thresh not quite there to be able to save anyone. It's just in range there for the hook as well.
Yeah, and there should just be a Baron for Fireflies here, free, with 2 members being down on the Turtle side here. So, I think the Ziggs is such a huge win con now, Baron obviously being 2 items, but he's just completely outclassed by the Xayah pick, you know, in 23 minutes. But yeah, the Ziggs needs to get that Seraphs up as soon as possible. And then he has to get his 3rd item. I don't know if Turtles will survive until Ziggs gets his 3rd item, but if they want to win this game at all, that's the thing they should be focusing on.
Yeah, as previously watched, Fireflies didn't really have problems in their last game finishing them when they had the lead. So it's something to look out for in this game, as we're sort of again in that lull state, waiting for an objective to be taken, and ready for a fight to occur.
I mean, if I'm Fireflies here, I'm telling my team to stop farming, and I'm forcing it down mid with the Wukong. Wukong still has his TP. He was on the top side to take that Baron, as they did take out that second Drake too. A second one coming out to stop the stunk shot, and he's just gonna stand there, completely accept his fate.
Corello knows, no passive, no team nearby. It's not possible for him to leave alive. As we see some fighting here, Mundo throwing the briefcases, not knocked up there by the Talia, but does take a lot of damage and forces the TP out there from the Wukong to keep the Talia safe. As we see a nice push from the mid lane, just about missing the hook. Nice damage here onto Andres, who is CC'd, but the Glacial Prison comes down on Draven, who steps too far forward and is taken out as the death sentence there. Also taking out Andres because of the slows and tower shots. Talia walks in, does get the knock up onto the Ziggs. This is looking very good here for Fireflies. A possible end incoming as Mundo is forced to stop Dracali from pushing top too heavily.
Yeah, and I mean, good. That was the best fight they could have taken, possibly, in this entire game, up until laning phase ended. Draven did overextend, but he probably thought that the Thresh was going to back him up along the Ziggs poke, as, you know, Zac should end up dying, and this should just be game. Okay, so in that last fight, we saw Draven overextend because he knew that was the only fight they were gonna take where they could get a goal, somewhat of a goal lead, and he could catch him on his access. So if they don't take that team fight, the game does probably just stall out, and then the Fireflies just stand as they try and not go for the end here, trying to take the 100% play here, which is completely fine. And I'm gonna finish my point here in just a second. So, big misplay from the Thresh there. He can't walk up. He doesn't walk up with the Draven, and then the Draven overextends, trying to get that kill onto Xayah. She completely whiffs ult, and then she is in lethal range. Ziggs did kill her, but she had no shutdown, I believe, as Ziggs should also die here.
Yeah, the Satchel not enough to jump over that wall, as we see another hook as Mundo's CC shield is already taken out. He does flash away, has popped up, so he is healing. But there's just generally too much damage as Zac does jump in, doesn't get a knock up onto anyone. And Xayah, the lovely pullback, does get one stun, and Corello is just trying to run away. The Arctic Assault catching up, but Zac does slingshot away as the Talia is caught on the tower, so will go down. That's a nice shot down onto Draven, and also Draven collecting another kill. Wukong is going in here for the split push, does enough damage to get the tower, the Nexus tower down to half. Zac has
that's sad to see, man. The only time Draven gets any form of kills going, the game is about to end.
Yeah, and a really nice second knock up there from Wukong for both members, and that should be enough now to end with a nice hook onto the Wukong. And limit testing is just like, let's end the game, guys, let's end the game! As the Nexus does go down.
Yeah, I mean, definitely well played from the Blitzcrank there, hitting all the hooks, hitting even in team fights, and in lane especially. It was so important to put this Draven behind as much as possible. Draven did end up having the same amount of items as the Xayah, but that was only because of the shutdowns in the late game. He didn't have this IE, so Xayah was essentially up at an item and a half. And considering it's Draven, that's definitely not what you want to see. So good job from Andreas and limit testing there, and definitely good job to Elise OTP. Definitely knowing where to path, where to be in the exact moment.
Yeah, we had sort of the kind of polar opposite to game one, where the jungler had that much influence on the other team that their ganks meant so much for the rest of their laners that it could pursue the lead into a higher state and victory as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see how they draft for this final game. Obviously, final draft is gonna decide how the game is gonna get played out in this game in around a couple of minutes or so. So join us back when you can, and we're gonna be here for game 3.
I've been tripping about you daily. I've been out of my mind, looking all kind of crazy. Oh, hope you know I'm not greedy. I don't need all of your time, I only need Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Welcome back, everyone, after a very interesting series we've been having so far. It's 1-1, and we are going into game 3 between Fireflies and young hip hop gangster turtles. Again, I have with me Kreiser. Are you ready for this game 3?
Yeah, I mean, game 3 tensions are running high as the Turtles do end up choosing blue side here. Okay, so as we get into draft, both games were dictated by the ball lane matchup. So if both teams do end up drafting, if sorry, so if Fireflies does end up drafting Zaya again, they will have to try and contest the Zaya with something else, maybe a scenario that worked well if it doesn't get banned out. But they're they're trying to force some action on the ball lane, obviously with the Zai being the stronger champion, if in doubt. I mean, we saw Mundo being played and the Wukong as an answer to it on the last pick, which is completely fine. But Mundo as a tank in a vacuum doesn't really have a lot of CC. All he does is just run around and just sit there in front of you. Maybe we want to see something else get picked here, as we see Samira get banned out and the Blitzcrank as well.
Yeah, so here we are, the final iterations of what teams have played throughout both games. We see Samira, Nunu coming out, like you said, Samira coming out instead of the Caitlyn. So the Caitlyn has been picked up on B1. Very strong pick, more than likely mixed with a Lux or Morgana. So we will see Moritan a different support, more than likely. Thresh is still a good pick with it, but obviously higher CC with the mages is good, as we see the response of Severe. So we are really looking for late game on the side of Fireflies as teams have switched.
Yeah, and if I'm, yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say that young hip hop gangster turtles have chosen blue.
Yeah, and I mean the Lux is taken away here from the Caitlyn. I mean, if I'm the right side here, I'm definitely choosing support on 3 here. I think there are way more important picks to get picked here on the second pick. Depending on what you play, but I feel like Lux, you definitely could have picked a better champion here, as we're gonna have to see what the Turtles answer with. Obviously, Caitlyn Lux a strong combo, but I probably was not expecting to see it in this game, especially. Probably some more of a snowbally support, maybe the Zerath even, as the Sejuani is picked out here.
Yeah, and again, something that worked really well for the Fireflies in the previous game. As we see for the third game in a row, Ziggs picked up, having a really troublesome time into the Talia in that last game, but in the first game, very good as we see that mid lane matchup again.
Yeah, I mean, completely fine draft from both sides. However, this Ziggs is a bit coin flippy. If he gets ahead, he really does get ahead, but Talia is able to contest him on the level 1 push and the end levels beyond that. Obviously, with mid laners contesting the push, both are really well, do really well with Lost Chapter. Obviously, some things like a Syndra where you have to use all 3 abilities to clear the wave. You need more than a Lost Chapter. You need a tier, maybe Corrupting Pot even. Biscuits we see sometimes, as Wukong gets banned away along with Nala's Malphite for Fireflies.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing those iterations of previous drafts coming forward. The Malphite obviously being such a problem for Ricali, top lane there, and the Wukong in the opposite stead, being a problem for Earthkit.
Yep, and I mean, support options still available for the Turtles here. Morgana would be so good here. You're able to counter the Lux and the Talia W, along with that Magic Shield, AP Shield. Obviously not going to the Sivir alone, but we're gonna have to see how they think this matchup goes as the Trundle is picked. Obviously, big counter into Sejuani. Probably gonna force the Sejuani to go top here, actually.
this is definitely a possibility. We'll see how the rest of the draft goes. There's obviously a counter pick more than likely coming in here for the support. We'll see what comes through. Thresh, they're going for the safety option. It is still a good pick with a Caitlyn. Caitlyn has a little bit more mobility than the majority of ADCs, but very much helped with this having this Thresh.
Yeah, and I mean, with the recent changes, you have sort of this Earth Thresh where he wants to go for hooks more than he wants to Lantern. As we saw 2 patches ago, melee supports got changed as the Ornn is up, and they will take it away.
Yeah, a little bit maybe troublesome into this Trundle, but we'll have to see where the gank priority comes in with the next pick as well. Like you said, the Jacks may be coming through possibly from previous games.
I mean, they need a bit of meat. So, I mean, if we're going tank v tank in the top lane, oh, actually, the Fiora gets picked here.
That's
Oh my,
covered.
Olaf is so much. No, don't go Olaf. Oh my god. And I mean,
So,
with
well, yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
so the reason I don't want this Olaf is because Ornn doesn't need gold, right? Obviously, the mythic at 14 is really good, but Ornn just want like Olaf wants to bully you early and don't he doesn't want you CS, but Ornn does have that Q and the unstoppable, and he can dash away. Such a bad pick here, but yeah. So one thing I didn't want to see was the Ornn pick. Obviously, Orange is running big alt targets for the Trundle here. They're and both can generate with their passives a lot of armor and MR. So
Maybe it's the choice that, well, Trumbuck alone will only be able to ult one of us, and so the other can tank the rest. We'll have to see how the game state goes, obviously, with this happening.
I mean
So,
that
yeah.
if the turtles are thinking like that, past I mean obviously in team fights that works, but in Trundle obviously being a character where he's specifically designed to not lose 1v1s with the attack speed steroids and he eats away your Q, he steals your AD. Um, this is he's just gonna be ganking top and jungle probably off cooldown here, or the mid lane even actually with the pillar being able to proc the Talia E. But yeah, that logic definitely applies in fights, but it doesn't apply in actual laning phase where junglers impact the most.
So now that we've seen the comps, we've had a lot of focus in this bot lane, and we're seeing two very different picks from anything we've seen before. Obviously, Caitlyn being banned a lot by the Fireflies, and well, out of nowhere, really, is Severe coming in. So, how does this lane match up? Obviously, the Lux picked away as well.
Yeah, so I mean, Lux not really good synergy into the Sivir. Obviously, Lux wants to poke. Sivir can poke, but her she's very mana hungry, so maybe a different pick here would have worked. Thresh would have worked too. I mean, if you're a Sivir, you're basically saying, hey, we're forfeiting lane. I'm playing for the Nova's power spike. The Thresh here on the second pick here, I mean, as the support pick here, I don't like it a lot because with the new Thresh changes, he's able to poke and flay a lot. But if you're Kaylin, you want to be dictating the ball lane matchup, so something more aggressive here would have definitely worked.
And again, seeing Ziggs and Talia after that second game. What do you think the mental here of Meat Shield is?
Uh, the sorry, what'd you say?
The mental of the mid laner for young pop gangster turtles.
Yeah, and I
As
mean,
they
from what I saw, he definitely is able to extend his goal lead, but if he falls behind, does he fall behind. Last game was a consequence of the Draven not really being you know that good of a champion into the Xayah. Obviously, he did get sort of camped a bit,
Mm.
but the Blitzcrank was hitting his hooks a lot, so maybe that was a consequence here. I definitely want to choose a different option than the Ziggs here. Obviously, he has great poke, but I think there are champions that excel at the things he does way better.
Yeah. As we coming into sort of final 10 seconds, then could we get maybe a prediction?
So post draft, I'm probably taking right side here. The Trundle is gonna get ahead. It's just gonna be a matter of how much ahead he can be. Obviously, obviously the Olaf pick, not something you want to see. So it's gonna be very problematic trying to gank the Ornn if he's not overextended. You can't path bottom. Sivir is just she's not gonna be able to do a lot. If the Lux does end up hitting Qs on the Kaylin, which doesn't seem like it's gonna be a thing with Kaylin obviously having that very large auto attack range that has base out of any ADC. Pathing bottom is not an option here. Maybe the Talia Trundle pick is very good here, so maybe dives bottom or dives top into the Ornn early should work here.
Okay, then what we've got next is rune selection. Again, very generic. There's a fleet footwork there on Sejuani.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw this a lot when Trundle was meta and Sejuani were meta back in the day. Like 2 seasons ago, Sejuani was blinded and Trundle was being picked as an option because if you do get that aftershock proc off along with your passive, Trundle ults you, 2/3 of your health are gone. So the fleet is good into the jungle. It's gonna keep you healthy a lot, and it's gonna stop the Trundle from completely one-shotting you.
Okay, and again, a 5-point sort of coverage here for both teams. I would have a little bit further up as well. I don't know who's winning this dance off.
I mean, Trundle's dance did get buffed with the movement speed. The more movement speed he has, the more he jiggles. So
Wow.
yeah, later into the game, he should win the dance, in my opinion.
There's maybe possibly a little bit of cheese coming out from this bot lane on blue side.
I mean, not completely unprecedented. Sivir obviously is not going to start Spell Shield first, you know that. Lux is able to poke, that's about it. If something does end up happening here, it's gonna be so much harder to lane as the Sivir here, and you already know it's gonna be hard.
I believe the Olaf is having a really fun time here. Nice slows as the hook comes in onto the Lux and forcing the flash early. Also with, well, the health bar being at half.
Yeah, and so look at how far back she's playing already. In my like, Thresh already used Q. You're not gonna get hooked anytime soon. Yeah, but already the mental age is coming in as the hook just barely misses. So as you already had to pop one pot as Lux, this stops you from walking up and taking poke trades with the Kaylin. So if Kaylin decides to poke trade, then the Lux is just gonna be on the far end of it. Kaelin's gonna win it 100% as we see the auto attack range being abused here.
Yeah, and something now to note as well, something we've not yet talked about, the junglers pathing to opposite sides again in conjunction obviously with the first game. Drakali there really low, a lot of damage from minions. He's trying to close the gap onto this Ornn who gets the brittle, but no kill threat just yet.
Yep, and I mean, Trundle pathing top, so trying pathing bottom with trying to force something maybe with the Kaylin. Wave is being stacked up quite a decent amount. This might end up being into a dive, knowing that Lux has no flash. As something's happening here.
Yeah, really good knock up. Bit of true damage traded back there with Olaf E, and again a nice level up to sort of even out the health there. Earth Kip sort of being lower in the XP game than Drakali. Sejuani also moving towards the spot side, as we said. Both top lanes again really low. So we'll have to wait and see. Trundle maybe ready for a dive here. We'll see if Olaf can get this in quickly enough. Staying away from the mountain pillar and the wall. It's 1Q. Nice E. Picks up the axe again. Can't quite get the wave under the tower. This Trundle is really eating up his time.
Yep, and I mean, I think that's gonna be actually just completely collapsing with both hammers. I thought that Olaf W would be back in time. I guess not. And that's, again, the Olaf pick doesn't really do anything into these tank picks. that's why I was so frustrated to see a really big draft blunder. Obviously, it's really good into the Kalen and Ziggs where he's just able to run you down, as the Trundle is being sort of a nuisance to the Olaf. Anything he can to get this Olaf's ball rolling. But if there's anything else in the top lane besides this Ornn or Malphite, that's actually nothing's gonna end up happening here. I thought something was gonna happen, but if there's any other pick here, besides the Ornn, I think the Olaf is great. But in essence, I think it's just such a bad pick here.
I'm just missing out there. Not quite hitting him, just a little bit of poke coming out from the Lux. You can see a fight in the river of Akanoka and Meat Shield as Sejuani is also coming towards. A nice slow, but it's not really enough. Ghost is popped, and Thresh could be caught here depending on what's happening. But no, the turn onto the bot lane. Limit testing still only level 3 and does go down. The Ignite is on the Thresh, and Corello is forcing his way towards this Severe. Caitlyn catching up as well. That's a flash away to stay alive, but Akanoka being taken down by the support mid duo. And the kill goes over to Meat Shield as Trundle is ready to 1 versus 2. Killer comes down, the shield eaten away. A nice satchel and Lantern away for safety of Shield.
I mean, good coordination play from Ziggs there. Uses the bomb to displace the Trundle, put him farther away from the Thresh, and the Thresh is able to just walk out and take the Ziggs with him. Good coordination play. Avoids a double kill happening from the Trundle, and he's already gonna get so ahead, so you're just stopping him from getting ahead more. But yeah, we saw the Sivir not being able to do a whole lot in the ball lane fight. Lux did go down, and that's what I was talking about. Sivir is so weak early. Obviously, we saw Kaelin being picked first and Sivir after. Has massive damage coming up from Kaelin. So we saw Kaelin being picked first and Sivir after. Sort of this is what I was talking about in game 2. You wanna switch up the ball lane composition, maybe into a scaling one, so you have something to play for. In this game 3.
I think this all kind of stems from really the jungle pathing. Trundle wasting a lot of time in top lane for that dive, and Olaf not really being able to get the wave in. Sejuani is looking for this first Drake, and has Ziggs roaming before Talia is also roaming topside. The knockup doesn't come through as the Ornn Horn is called. There's a lot of damage now, both ways, and Olaf is just really taking down. Flash Force from Earth Kit might get away, but there's a misstep with the clicks. Olaf does have to pop Ghost, but does get the kill in the end. As the stun there forces Flash from Insider. Could be an easy Drake take there, as there was a lot of fighting in that bot lane for young hip-hop gangster turtles also. Yeah, just collecting waves now at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I am probably taking right. So, like I said, I'm probably taking right side comp here way more than left, because you just have sort of a do nothing comp. Wait until Sivir scales up, wait until Talia gets her first item here, and you know, the game is definitely on Pearls here to make something happen. Take this gold lead advantage in their hands. There is already a 1k gold lead towards them with a 3-1 kill deficit. I mean, if they don't win hard enough, the game will eventually go into Firefly's favor, as the hook misses just barely.
Yeah, and again, setting up for next objective. Trundle taking a tiny bit of damage, not too much. Does collect the scuttle, as again, mid laners throwing spells at each other. Trundle not really knowing what to do at solo point here. Does walk towards this ult, who doesn't have the ult. Does leave enough of a gap. He gets the dash away for safety.
We see the Bramble being bought from the Ornn to stop the Olaf sustaining just a tiny amount, as there's a Ghost has to be popped here.
Talia there getting away. does get caught by the Sejuanis. We've got a little bit of slapping of each other, both from Olaf in this top lane. Again, well, in comparison anyway, to both of our previous early games, not much is happening, and this does favour Fireflies.
Yeah, and I mean, as I said, if nothing happens in the early game, the game state definitely favors Fireflies here, and definitely a more calmer game than we saw in the first 2 games here. Obviously, being dictated by Fireflies, they're just trying to avoid as many mistakes as possible here, as Olaf does sort of leash the crowd before Trundle. Yeah, in the first 2 games we saw like a good bomb there actually. In the first 2 games we saw more than a kill a minute, especially in the second game. As this Sejuani is just making Talia's life a menace. As you're gonna have to stop me here talking at some point, that something might happen here.
Yeah, Trundle coming in. Possible stun, just about misses. The ult comes down and limit testing gets the final spark to the Zig. Sejuani just about moving away. And again, Trundle picking up Herald's just before all this happens. So a net positive for the Fireflies, which to be seeing. That's a good Glacial Prism. Nice Ornhorn as well, and a good hook. Earthkit picking up the kill. Not really who you want it on, especially as in this bot lane, Severe and Lux are collecting gold from the tower and minions. We'll have to see how the young pop gangster turtles want to respond to the play.
I mean, they went kill for kill there as the Olaf is beating the Ornn's head. And I mean, this is eventually how this tank matchup goes. He had so many auto attacks on the Ornn, but he just ends up going even with them.
Yeah, finally also doing a nice bit of healing as well. Again, coming to this lull state as we come up to a minute on the next dragon.
So we're probably going to see a Radiant Virtue come out from the side of Sejuani here, and the Leandris again standard. Pretty standard all across the board here. But yeah, as soon as Sivir gets his first item, she becomes half a champion. As soon as she gets them the worries, as something's happening here.
Good sidestep there from the stun. Olaf now turning on to the Ornn, does get the slow, but Meat Shield is out of position. There is a bomb down, but the Ornn trades for a solo kill. So again, 1-for-1 on both teams. Really favouring Fireflies. If both teams are getting kills and staying roughly even, there is only it's barely a lead. It's 100 gold. Unlike we've been saying, elated comp coming in early is a problem for the hiphop gangster turtles.
Yeah, but I mean, nothing really much to talk about. We definitely see the turtles trying to force something here, but Firefly is getting away with so much as strong as hook here.
Yeah, Pillar just missing, so Incisor does get away, and the death sentence flash. Nice hook. Ghost has been popped. Good ignite. Good stopwatch there. As we see the turnaround, the very low health bars on the side of Fireflies. As limit testing is maybe out of position. Glacial Prism hits. There's a nice slow, good flash away. Has Sejuani gone too far forward? Ult is popped. Subjugate down with ignite, and no one dying. The Ornhorn coming from downtown does get the knock up, and there is one gone. Andres Claymore taken out, and it goes onto the Caitlyn.
I mean, look at how much the turtles had to use their obviously the flash hook hitting on the Thresh, a big flash hook play. The Pillar did have to stopwatch. I mean, this entire game can be summarized as Thresh gets another hook here. Probably won't amount to anything here. Caitlyn doesn't have that headshot yet.
Trundle coming up, does smite, does lantern for an extra shield. There isn't enough speed. Caitlyn is just free firing. There is blinkers on this Trundle, and Incisor flashes forward to get another kill.
Finally, they're getting something going here. They're finally getting goalie that actually matters here, kills onto the Caitlyn especially. So what I was pointing out before, this entire game can be summarized in one play. Flash hook coming out from the Thresh. Obviously, Talia gets for no reason there with ghost extensions. She stopwatches in front of the Caitlyn. You never want to stopwatch in front of Caitlyn. Caitlyn didn't get a trap off in time before the stopwatch expired, and Talia got out for free, and she didn't even I think she didn't die there, but the entire game can be summarized in that one play. Turtles trying to make something work, and Fireflies obviously getting away with a lot more than they should be.
Yeah, it did feel like there should have been more kills, but all of this happening, they've allowed Drakali to really push in this top lane, and first tower has been taken for the team of Fireflies. Obviously, towers going in the bot lane before anything elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, 2 Drakes going over to to not Fireflies, and the main thing I'm saying here, not Fireflies, and I'm saying not Fireflies instead of Turtles, is because Fireflies shouldn't be getting anything on the map as of now. They need to wait for these picks to come online, like I said, in the draft. So the server just completely cracked, and she probably is opting out for this Berserker Greaves, obviously not being able to afford the 500, so she opts out for the longsword. I mean, that's pretty fine. Yeah, but we're just gonna have to wait a couple more minutes, I'd say. Probably 10 more minutes until the game does turn into a fist fight.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of pushing coming on line for both, as the pillar does come out, stopping Eon, forcing the flash. The Ragnarok and Subjugate come out. There is a nice slow. The Eon Horn is taken. It won't knock up the Olaf, but does knock up the Trundle, who then eventually gives the kill to Olaf. Sejuani couldn't quite get there and is maybe caught out depending on how Trundle wants to play the rest of this. Trundle in a very precarious position, doesn't quite get knocked up, but the pillar should allow him to run away. The knocker again, also using Ghost, what seems to be off cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to use Ghost there if you know you don't have to flash. Obviously, Ghost on a 3-minute cooldown compared to Flash's 5. Obviously, Flash being a huge summoner, especially on picks like Talia, where you don't want to use Flash offensively, but 90% of the time you want to use it defensively to stop this Sejuani's Glacial Prison from hitting the potential.
Knock up on the Sejuani there, but no real follow-up to get a kill. A summoner spell, which actually is already down for the Sejuani. And again, just into this lull state, or maybe be fighting over the Herald net. There is obviously a fair amount of vision for Turtles again on possibly caught out, not really much damage, so we'll have to see. Subjugate pop again. Oh, sorry, nearly up, not quite. A nice hook there onto this Trundle, who has forced his way too far, and now the Herald in Turtle's hand.
Yep, and I mean they're finally being proactive on the map. I don't know what took them so long, but actually goalie decreased just a slight amount here. Only 600 now. Now this Herald isn't anything to be excited about, but it definitely helps. As they're gonna give it to Thresh. I'm not sure why. But yeah, so we saw the Heartsteel go from Sejuani. Now Radiant Virtue does stack if you build it on individual champions, so I'm not sure why she did end up going Heartsteel. More health just means Trundle's gonna burst you more, as something might happen here.
Yeah, just a bit too far away. Trundle is on the Sejuani. Not really popping anything else. The Thresh is about. Olaf is working his way down. The Lantern is able to be taken and decide to get away.
So, I mean, obviously this Caitlyn having a hard time with the Lux, trying to play lane 1v2. She does end up getting hit by blinding.
That is
not what you want to see if you're in the driver's seat in this game. That's just Drake is coming up in less than 30 seconds here too, so that should be the third dragon should end up going to Fireflies here.
Yeah,
but Olaf. A huge misplay here. Olaf is split pushing here as well with TP and Ghost if he wants to use it. All members of Turtles trying to contest the dragon.
And again, just the roam up teleport coming in. It's maybe a very odd position. You have to Ragnarok straight out of this. No, doesn't have to. The pressure isn't applied to the TP. The Heraldias is popped for a getaway, but the second hit of the Ornn is not there. Mega Bomb comes down, and Olaf securing the dragon for Fireflies here. Maybe a big misplay from Incisor, who gives over the dragon.
Yep, and I mean, stacking Hextech Skulls, I mean, Hextech Drakes onto the silver is so valuable, especially onto the Talia. One hit guarantees that you're going to be hitting the W, the E, and it stops the Sejuani passive from being up all the time. So if you do get a poke, if you do get to poke with Sejuani, the Hextech Soul, it becomes so problematic for her to go in because she doesn't have those bonus resistances anymore.
That's a really good push there for the Herald, as Olaf is on a flank. They have also caught the Trundle, who is extremely low, but does heal enough to survive just that little bit longer, as Olaf is onto the Caitlyn and does trade themselves each way. Lux now just auto attacking this Thresh as the mid laners. Nice knock up and good flurry of rocks there, and that is an ace for Fireflies, only losing the Olaf there.
I mean, I wouldn't say Fireflies is winning these fights super hard. It's just Turtles are misplaying it really, really badly. They're not playing for what they drafted for. The Ziggs isn't given time to poke the Sivir and to waste their spell shield. Lux is actually poking more than the Ziggs here, as Trundle ends up going down to the Baron, and so now they can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I think low levels, low health bars doesn't really help Fireflies there, and they, well, it's an execute, doesn't give anything away, it just shows them that that's what they wanted to do at the time, and now they can't.
Yep, and not really sure why he was just, you know, I mean, that could have been a good ban call if the jungle role was reverted to 2 patches ago, where they got more sustain now. But yeah, I don't know. So going back to the team fight, Morello finally being bought, knowing that Olaf and Trundle want to heal through these fights to try and give Sivir time to auto attack and give her time to ult. But yeah, so this game is still winnable for the Turtles here, but the clock is really expiring here for sorry for them. If this next team fight doesn't go their way, this game does end up being one-sided towards Fireflies here.
Like you said, we're waiting for that Novorius. There's a lot of damage coming down from the ricocheting, spinning blades there. So something waiting for, like you said, sorry, before game, and a nice knock up onto Thresh. Does flare away. Nice Herodias. The last final spark does hit, but there is not enough damage. The Talia Ward used. Does jump off at the right time, and Severe collects the kill.
Unfortunate that they had to use Weaver's Wall for that, as I munched down on my Toll Biscuit of Everlasting Will in real life. Yes, it's really unfortunate they had to use Weaver's Wall to collect the kill. If I'm Talia though, I'm just letting that kill go. There's nothing on the map to take besides Baron right now, and you have Olaf pushing. Weaver's Wall is just so much more utility than the Thresh Kill.
Yeah, they have started it. That's a nice purple shield there from the Severe as Glacial Prism hits the Lux, because it's already extremely low, and does kill the Mega Bomb hitting Andres, but Sejuani is just taken away by the Trundle. Like we said, very much a counter for this matchup. Maybe possibly alone right now. Not really going for anything though on either side, as both top laners are rotating bots here to start pushing once more.
Sivir finally gets her Novorius game, and just look at the item discrepancy between the two ADCs here. Sivir gets to finish her crit enhancement item. Meanwhile, Kaylin she just got it, but she does have the Berserker Greaves here. So actually, this just ruins my entire point that I'm trying to make here.
They've cursed you! The caster has been cursed!
Yeah, true actually, the caster curse. So, a weird buy from Lux here. I'm not sure when she picked this up. I think a while ago actually, but the Secret's Arm Guard, it's not going to be doing a whole lot. The CS that you're not even going to be able to stack it up even, because the support, you're not supposed to be CSing. You're always going to be with someone in the mid lane, and if you CS, that should be reportable.
Good final spark there. A lot of damage onto both the Thresh and Caitlyn, but doesn't really lead to anything. Dragon also coming up in about 5 seconds. Both top laners are on the opposite side of the map, and there's also an Olaf here.
Good read from the Olaf here, actually.
Yeah, as we see the Mega Bomb coming down, not quite enough though. I do believe this play does give away. There is a TP coming in from this Olaf. Let's see. Sejuani blocked away from getting over firstly, but does Arctic Assault away. The Caitlyn arc coming in. Corello back in. Final spark with a good smite there from the Trundle. Does get the one on the Dragon. There's now two. The Severe is free firing on what is left of the Turtles. Ornn doing his best. The Brittle blocked by Black Shield. And there the kill goes on to the Ornn. Nice Gale Force here from Caitlyn, but the Ghost is popped. Can't quite get the kill. Trundle now on the back. A nice knock-up. Good flash. Misses, but the kill is going over anyway. Lux collecting that and says, that's mine.
And in my head, this game is just completely over now. The Ornn and Sejuani are completely useless. The Ornn did end up hitting his mythic power spike, so every level onward he should be looking to upgrade some mythics here, but that's not gonna matter when you're so far behind. You're 3.5k gold behind here with Sivir and Talia. I mean, there is no win condition that they can play for. There's nothing that they can play for on the map anymore. Second Drake, the Hextech Soul did end up going over to the Trundle Smite, but yeah, in my gold opinion, this game is over.
Well, luckily it's a lot closer than the previous game, so we've got a really good game 3 on our hands. Obviously, one misstep from this Severe though does cause Turtles to come back maybe into this game, as there is a posture for vision on the Baron at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, all we have to do is just wait for Fireflies to pull this trigger. The blue will end up going to a Zigzag. But yeah, this next fight should be around Baron, and it's this completely in Firefly's hands.
Glacial Prison goes wide. The Ragnarok is not popped. The bush skewed it there. A lovely hook onto the Trundle, but not really much damage coming out. He is half HP from the Caitlyn ult, but not really much happening after that. Just really a poke game now coming out from Turtles. Seeing what they can get on the end of long-range skill shots.
Yep, and the Olaf is moving downside. They did see it, so Ornn should actually instant TP down to his bot side fight. He's gonna be a bit late though, I should realize this pop.
Olaf turning around as Death Sentence does come out. The Ornn Horn does not trundle up. He is a good bit away. Mega Bomb hits on the edge for the Talia, and the good slow there from Lux to slow Ornn down, and Trundle should be able to get away, but this should be a Baron for Turtles.
Yeah, and actually a complete swing, I think, here, as this fight is still going on here.
Final Spark does a lot of damage. Fresh Hook hits, but Sejuani follows, and both of them are dead. Ragnarok is popped. Auto attacks are not coming down just yet, so Ragnarok falls. It's a double knock up there from the Ornn. The Olaf does go down. A flash forward. Nice knock up. So traded for a 4-4-2, and they're hunting now for this Ziggs. As Trundle gets on, nice Q, good knock up there. Talia collecting the ace for Fireflies.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that they were finally playing for the Zigzag. He did finish his Rabadon instead of going for the Sarah second, which was actually good since since you're not scaling, you're trying to get as much AP as possible before the Sivir becomes a thing, and you're completely zoned off now from the Olaf, which is actually, this is like a 300 IQ buy almost. But they're finally playing for the team comp a bit late, a bit, later than they should be, but they're finally doing it, so this might be a saving grace actually.
Yeah, Trundle there just pushing in the wave, maybe trying to collect a mid-tier 2, which doesn't then in fact collect. Yeah, we're setting up now for a dragon that spawns in 43 seconds.
Yep, and for both teams, this is Soul Point. This is really, really important, as both teams really want this Baron. If you do get Soul Point, you're able to just stall out the game for just for 4 minutes longer, you're able to sort of trade the soul for Baron. Now, if soul is more worth for right side than it is for left side, as they're just going to completely start Baron here.
Yeah, this is very much unbeknownst to Fireflies, and it's already down to 8k health. All 5 members, Trundle trying to get there, so the vision is on it. They do know it's down to 3k of health. Final spot goes in. Sejuani secures, and the Trundle is caught in the pit. There's still a lot of damage generally going down, but Trundle is taken out, and the Turtles have just turned this around with a really good Baron play.
Yeah, and if you make plays like this, then you absolutely you cannot let your foot off the gas. So this back is actually kind of an int. They should have just ran back to Drake instantly here, knowing that they chunked out most of the Fly's roster here. But this back with Baron doesn't really, make a difference. Just sort of efficiency things.
Well, the Talia maybe getting caught out the hook does just about miss, so no kill there. Olaf is just sitting in the jungle like, that is not where I want to be.
Yeah, but I mean, Talia should have been absolutely dead there. I don't know how the Thresh mistimed the hook there. They all knew that someone was porting over to the other side. They didn't realize until it was Talia until the very last second. So, yeah, so Leandri is finally upgraded into the Ornn item. I'm not sure what it's called. Yeah, so PD finally coming out from the server with the Last Whisper, probably opting into the low Dominix here. Gonna have such high value into the Sejuani and Ornn with no resistances after they get ulted by Trundle. But yeah, they have just completely turned this game around.
Yeah. And like you were saying, Severe finally now head in items, backing off themselves in Turtle. A little bit of damage onto Lux to about 2/3. Severe's also reasonably low, just below half as well. From hope of the Ziggs, the Mega Bomb doesn't really hit, and Olaf is just going in. The Ziggs has instantaneously died. The Redemption doing enough damage. Ornn now stunned up, just uses the Unstoppable perfectly timed, knocked up and killed. It is now a 3 versus 5. No real damage onto this Trundle, and Turtle are just backing off from the wave at the minute. So still posturing with the Baron to push in.
Yeah, and I mean, we're at 32 minutes now. I thought that Fireflies were just kind of going to completely take over the game, but they were still struggling to space the silver auto attacks as Weaver's Wall is going to come out here.
Yeah, Olaf pushing forward. Really, really good final spark there as the ace comes through. Talia collecting the final kill. And this should be a push down mid. Let's see what Ziggs can do in an attempt of defense.
So because Ziggs died so early that fight, before the initial fight actually even started with the Olaf, he might be able to clear out this wave. Obviously, no wave, no damage to the tower. But we're gonna have to see if Trundle can tank it, along with the Ornn actually here. Death time is coming up. 14 4 Thresh, 24 killing and Sejuani. But yeah, I thought this was gonna be a game end, but then as they just won too hard, I guess.
Yeah, I think the force down mid was just a bit too much. As we see now, they're just choking out some of the jungle camps, getting a little bit more gold for themselves, trying to complete these third and items, mostly fourth for the teams.
Now, one thing I want to point out here is, look at the Ziggs build. He finished Morello. LS is probably out there. Whilst he isn't looking at this game, he is definitely still protesting against the Morello full buy. Now, the Grievous Wound items did get changed a couple patches ago, where the component items actually reduce the full amount of the completed items. So maybe, you want as much damage as possible to make your poke more effective here. The stopwatch doesn't really make a whole lot of sense here. If you have flash coming up, if you have flash for the next fight, and you're able to Ziggs bomb yourself away. So if you play these fights correctly, stopwatch should have 0 value here.
Yeah, as you see the blue buff there going over to Lux, obviously out of the 2 mages. Well, Talia already has one, so you may as well give it to your other mage. As we have a posturing Thresh just outside of River, followed up by the rest of the team now.
Yep, and they just want to be here first. So personal objectives is actually really underrated. We see a lot of teams, they're just second to objectives with a winning team comp. But obviously they can't see what we see. They're obviously better safer to be sorry, but you just gotta be a risk taker and be here. Dragon is coming up in less than a minute.
Thresh has back. That's a lot of damage. Nice knock up there onto Olaf, and the full team is turning onto him. A good glacial prism, but the Ragnarok has popped. They have maybe caught the Caitlyn. Trundle is on this fight, knocked up in the air. Can Olaf do enough damage? He's not back. The Severe now also free firing from the backline does get the double kill. Sejuani in the alcove not being spotted out. Can they clean up at least these last two? That's a good spell from Lux. Forced the flash on Meat Shield, and Andres picking up another for the triple in that fight.
I mean, if I initially swung towards red side there, blue side did manage to pick up some of the slack though, but obviously with the CDs in the late game obviously being so low, they were able to win the fight out in the end. Caitlyn did get caught by an Olaf axe, a sneaky Olaf axe though, but they're so low now. Imagine if the Ziggs had anything but a stopwatch. Imagine if he had a needlessly large rod. He spaced that fight so incredibly well. He waited for his cooldowns, he threw out his bombs, he did everything right that fight, but his teammates let him down. Imagine if there's anything but the stopwatch here and no finish Morellos.
Olaf possibly caught out here with no Ragnarok. It's a good knock up and a good freeze, but only Thresh and Sejuani there. There is no possible kill for two.
As we see the rapid fire finally should be completed soon for the Caitlyn, and rapid fire obviously being a big fifth item. Or fourth actually, not counting boots.
We are getting to that point now. Olaf, well, I'd like to have thought maybe falling off, but with the changes, he is still raring to go. Got a Baron start up here from Fireflies. Ornn is teleporting. He is in the mid lane. The Baron is already halfway down. Talia wall coming through. The Mega Bomb just about misses Visual Prison onto the Severe, who is taken out. Can this fight turn around? Olaf forced to stopwatch. That's a good final spot, but there's no damage there. Trundle is caught in the pit, and the two left over are the Lux and the Talia. That's a good amount of damage. This possibly turns around as Trundle gets the one. That's a big Rand shield there from the Randuins for the Ornn, saving his life. This is maybe possibly turned around. The final spark just being gale forced away from no kill there.
Consequence of being on the right side, the Baron is not in your favor. So with the Ornn TP, they were able to isolate the Silver. Kind of a misplay as Lux almost dies here. So in that fight, Silver completely lost the fight for Fireflies. She was just standing in the center of Baron pit, not even moving in between autos. It was so weird to see. I don't know how she got hit by anything. Obviously, Glacial Prism hitting, and Silver's only able to spell shield one thing at a time. So big hook, she had to use cleanse on the hook, and just overall big play and huge misplay from Silver.
Yeah, one consolation prize maybe. Fireflies did in fact get the Baron, so that is still on limit testing, and Akonaka, as we see the Talia really going for a fight here. That's a lot of damage. Final spark has to be flashed away from. Talia now getting the knock up and easily collects the kill onto this one with the assist going as well to the Severe.
I mean, such a huge gold lead, 9k gold lead for Fireflies, and they're still not able to finish this game off.
It's a nice hook there from Fresh as the Weaver's Wall comes in. It's a good chunk of damage from both the Talia. The Mega Bomb directly in the center, and the Talia has gone down, but the Trundle is fighting back, but has finally been taken out by the Caitlyn. Even trading 2 for 2 again. Lux really going for this. Final spark does a lot of damage, but this Ziggs is free firing. The trap is under, and that's a kill now. 3 for 2. Turtles who can just push the wave in. Olaf, again, a lot of misplaced fighting. 1 versus 1s, 2 versus 1s.
Yep, and I mean, whilst his Ziggs is not good on lane, he is so good mechanically out of lane. Everyone is just setting up CC for him, and he's landing his bombs. He knows what his teammates want to do when they want to throw out the hooks, especially on the Thresh. But yeah, whilst Fireflies has more of a better scaling comp at the moment. We're about to reach the 40-minute mark. Ziggs is still a threat. He did just complete his Rabadons, having to sell that stopwatch. Finally, he's getting some confidence in his mechanics. But yeah, while Caitlyn also has some decent AD ratios, so she's also definitely to be feared. If you get caught in a trap, you're basically dead. If you're the Talia or Lux here, and the Lux just ulting off cooldown, she is definitely online now.
Yeah, we have a 12 stacked Medgeist there for the Lux. And funny enough, we've been saying how far this Severe has been ahead throughout the game, but Caitlyn is the first to complete her items. As we see the setup for a final elemental Drake of this map. Possibly the end of the game as well. The binding just missing. Olaf already in the backline. It's a good slow. He has a lot of health. He's already on the Caitlyn, who's down to half. A Mega Bomb doesn't really do much. The GA is popped, and Olaf is now on Ziggs, who is really low. Akanaka also there, taking down one. Severe is free firing on the rest of the tanks, and that is game.
Yeah, and I mean, really good flank TP. No one really spotted out, especially with the Sejuani, having Oracle's big misplay. As you saw, they all ran towards the Caitlyn. Caitlyn had to use Gale Force E, Shurelia's there, but couldn't really outspeed the Sivir ult. As actually, the game is the game. Surely they end, right?
The thought would be to end. It is only an Ornn. What can he do? That's a really good slow. The dash away, he's not necessarily going to die. The inhib has gone down. The death timer is now getting towards 15 seconds. The first Nexus turret is down. That's a good final spark and a good stun. The ace comes through Thresh, the only one alive. Not really possible to stop the onslaught of 4. And that is best of 3 to Fireflies.
Yeah, man, I mean, scrappy game, but Fireflies does manage to close out the game in the end. Obviously, they drafted for the late game. The game did go late. They did collect 4 dragons in a row. Really well played to them. But yeah, they deserve these 2 wins. They deserve the series. Whilst making a lot of misplays in the end, they did manage to finish the game on their terms, on their pace. They did lose the initial first game, so maybe a bit of a tilt. Congrats to whoever pulled them out of the gutter mentally. But yeah, that final fight was everything it came down to. And having no flash on the Caitlyn, because it was burned by the Lux, really, really big. So yeah, I mean, the Caitlyn was the carry, and the Caitlyn did lose the game here.
Yeah, really good final game and a really good series overall. Both teams having their one absolute blast of a game to then have an absolute one burner for the final. So, Chrysler, I didn't get to ask you last game, so we'll have to maybe not take that into consideration. But overall in the series, do you have an MVP?
Overall in the series, I mean, team game, team play. But overall, so this game, I'm definitely taking the support once again. I mean, Talia had some good plays. Olaf, obviously, with the macro management, and Trundle just being an absolute menace on the map. But I think with so many bindings being landed, so many ults coming out, even the disrespecting the Zanyas for the Caitlyn, I think limit testing definitely showcased in both wins. Even when he came up big when it mattered most. In the first game, we didn't really see him do a lot. He did end up missing that Flash Annie, some of the Flash Annie stuns, but you know what? He came out mentally, and then he completely demolished the enemy ADC.
Yeah, really good, as you said. So I think we have an interview with one of the winning players from reference and Discord name. Are you Fireflies Jungler?
I am indeed, yeah. Yeah, I am, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant games for today. Thank you for playing those.
Yeah, I think the first game we went in kind of with a mindset of just do what we can. Then we expected them to play for the early game, but we didn't. The Nunu pick was just really good from them. I think that first game we kind of collapsed and everything, and we didn't really have a mindset on what we wanted to do. And then second game came, and all of a sudden everything turned around. Our mood changed. We went from just quite negative to being really positive. Our ADC really put a mindset onto us that we're a better team when we play together. And
Yeah,
then our top laner, massive credit to him for he did the drafts really. He wanted us. He had a mindset of what we needed to do, and he wanted the Wukong top because I don't think they wanted to see me on it again. But yeah, to be fair, we've really enjoyed that series. I think a lot of credit to our opponents here as well.
absolutely. Both played really well. So then let's take it back. I know you said about mindset of first draft, but a lot of the bans then focused towards yourself. We saw the Jarvan coming out mainly for you, your Elise Jarvan being very prominent for yourself. What's obviously the mindset of that coming into game when you can't play? Was there maybe a fall off there?
Yeah, it was a bit of a we expected it, and then Wukong or Gragas was my two options, and I thought with the way the team looked, I didn't really fancy playing the Gragas to be honest. My scrims on it lately haven't been great. I enjoy the champ. Who done big fat bloke charging into you, drinking beer? It fucking sounds like a dream, doesn't it?
Mm.
But
Whoa, don't get fined
oh,
now.
sorry. But yeah, it was. But I think apart from that, I think it was a really bad game. Their Thresh, massive credit to him in that game one, as well as the Nunu. I think I flashed and he like predicted my flash on his hook on the first time they killed me. But and
Yeah,
then after that, I think it just made the game really difficult because Nunu was everywhere, and trying to match that as a Wukong I just wasn't being able to do it.
yeah, very much a hard task for you there. So then going into the second game, you said Andres, your bot laner, gave the mental. Any insight onto the speech that you had prior?
Really, don't really speak to it. It was just we're better than these. We can beat them. We've beaten before. We've gone into scrims. We've played better. We just need to get that mindset. We know what they was going to ban. We need to think of something what else we can play. And my two champs I was looking at Poppy or Sedge. More for the Zac. I think Poppy's a great champ. Really into a Zac. But apart from that, then we was more worried about their bot lane, and the two picks he always went with on red side was Kate and Samira. So we just thought we'll get rid of them, and then the Nunu as well. And then after that, it was I think game two. We got two early kills top lane, me and Drakali, and then it just made the game really easy. And then Akko, our mid laner, again a lot of credit to him. The way he plays lanes, he's really good. I, I don't think he gets enough credit for just how stable he can be in the lane. There's little times where he makes mistakes, but I've never any game I go into with him, I always feel like his lane will be safe. I never have to worry about him. The little mistakes he makes just make a game don't really bother the game. It's just little mistakes what can be fixed. And
Yeah.
just the team. I think we have a really good team. I think we've one of our best the way we're playing from how it all started. We know where our strong point is, and yeah, it's really good at the minute.
Awesome. Cry, you got any questions yourself?
Yep. So you obviously opted in for the Zaya pick. But okay, so all three games were dictated by the ball lane matchup. Obviously, in this game, the game went a little bit late, so Silva did end up outscaling the Kaylin at some point in the game, and then obviously dying to the Olaf running her down. Whose decision was it to switch up the? Obviously, you won with the Zaya. Big props to Blitzcrank, but whose decision was it to not pick the Zaya anymore and switch up into the Silver? Obviously, you had to take the Lux away. Did site selection have anything to do with that, or?
We see the Caitlyn, and we see their support love doing the Caitlyn looks, which is fair. It's a good strategy. So we took that, and then our ADC didn't really feel comfortable playing Xayah into Lux. So in his decision, he asked for Sivir. If he went, it's a safe champ and it's someone who will scale late. And I feel like the way, as you lot will know if you've seen our games, the way we play, we prioritize playing for late game. We see 40-minute games as our comfort zone. And you know when we like, you can see with the bans that we get our mine and Akko's Sol and J4 ban. We play for the late game. So we play it a bit risky, but yeah, he said he wanted the Sivir because again, like you said, it outscales if it's done right. And I feel like we did do it right. We had a lot of really good fights, some bad fights. I think later on we had a fight mid. It was my decision. I see a Caitlyn. We didn't have vision on the Thresh behind her or the Ziggs, and so I asked Akko, our mid laner, to ult in, and as soon as he did, then all of a sudden we see the other ones, and we was just in a much more tricky position. Luckily, we had Baron at that point, so we could just hold the waves. But to be fully honest, I mean, I can't really say much about myself in this game. I think there was a lot I did right, but a lot that I did wrong. And yeah, I think there was some good trades, good fights. But the
Yep,
Sivir pick
and
was just a good pick, really, with the Lux.
yep, and I mean we don't really see Silverlux on. And as a one more question to you, what's your obviously the enemy top laner playing tank all 3 games? What's your draft style? Like, what's your draft philosophy? Obviously, they were playing for the ball lane all 3 games again.
Yeah.
But personally, do you go for like do you ban out comp? The champions that make comps really strong, or do you target ban solo queue champions that you see on enemy OPGGs?
We do go on op.ggs, but then we look at past matches and what they've mainly been playing. And the only really top laner that want a tank that he's been playing, who really is a tank, is Kled. So, but our top laner just what he wasn't bothered about that. He said if they pick Kled, then he's got loads of counters for it. Jax being a good one for it. I think I don't know top lane well enough for that, but yeah, the only top lane they really picked what want a tank was Kled. So we weren't bothered about that. The one game he did play it, I think he lost. So instead of scrims, he has been looking good in scrims to be fair with it, but it wasn't a worry for us. So we knew that we'd be playing for bot side, so we just scale for late, and then we expected mid to pick Ziggs, so we didn't want to ban it because the second game when we had Talia, Akko again, I think he played quite well into it, so he said we'll just be able to run it again, and I did want the Sedge, but obviously they got it, so then I thought I'll go the one biggest counter to Sedge, and I think it worked well because I think 3 like early on fights after level 6, Ornn and Sedge kept focusing me, and like all of a sudden the rest of the team are dead, and there's just me killing a Sedge and an Ornn. So
Yeah.
it made the game. It was a fun game. It was from the first game, from where I don't think we enjoyed it. The second one, I don't think they did. So that game was just more. Everything was happening. It was one of them games where you couldn't take your eyes off it because we was fighting constantly.
Brilliant. Okay then. Well, coming to the end of the interview, is there anything you want to shout out?
Just a full team. I think really, we don't really scrim. We get one a week. I think for how well we play, it's showing. And I think there's a lot of champs that we can play, and I think the team just together we have a good mentality together. We have a laugh together. I mean, Taxi, our Fireflies FFS limit testing kept taking my camps later on, and he ulted the blue buff with Lux. Just and we like just stuff like that. We keep the mood light. We keep happy. We stay in a positive mood even after that first game, where I think a lot of teams would just really get heartbroken by that. And yeah, I think it's Hen Haven that they've got that Turtles have got a rematch with next, and then we take on the winners of them, and we'll be ready for that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again for some brilliant games, Elise, and we'll hopefully catch your games next week.
Hopefully. Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you.
No worries. Okay then, Cry. Well, final thoughts and wrap up. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean there was completely deserved. I mean, a huge lot of blunders being made on both sides, but Fireflies being able to take advantage of their comps and completely just winning the series back from a 0-1 deficit back to a 2-1. I mean, just nothing to say. The draft was a bit of a problem in game one. They realized that their top laner, again, he said that they didn't have a coach. Their top laner was drafting, and as a top laner, it's so hard to draft for your team because no one's going to be coming up into top lane relatively a lot as a jungler. So if you're a top lane tryhard, then fair play to him for the draft. But all in all, I think good series. We got our 3 games that we wanted. The game, maybe the first game and the second game were a bit one-sided, but we did get our third game banger. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you to yourself, and as always, the man behind the scenes running the stream, Shade. You've been brilliant, both of you. Thank you for again a wonderful experience casting some more Valanth League, and hopefully we'll see you viewers next time.